they have dealt with and are dealing with. We will also gain insights into what can be the way forward. And for this, we have Professor S.B. Roy as the chair. He has already been introduced, and his achievement speaks for itself. So from here, I'll just hand it over to Sir, and he'll introduce the panelists, and we'll begin the session. Thank you. Yes.
Before we hand over the dais to Professor Roy, my only one submission to all the panelists. You know, the entire exercise that we are doing for these 2 days is with intention to identify what good things are taking place, where the soup inches, and you know, what is the kind of roadmap that we will have, or we will just continue like this, if I to continue. So for that, you know, one has to be very crisp. The earlier 2 sessions were not absolutely focused to FRA. It was around FRA, trying to give a context. But right now onwards, whatever we will be discussing, we really need, you know, your input, and it has to be crisp and focused. This is my submission to all before we hand over the.
Thank you, Professor Oda. Once again, I express my gratitude for this opportunity before you. My role is a little different from my side to monitor the time. And I try. And I take credit from Professor Oda. As a chairperson, I will again say, how do we present the success or not success so that we learn lesson? On my opening remark, I will say all of you that Forest Site Act is a historical event not only for India, but globally. If you see the news, the content, people admire about the initiative of the government of India and the states and the community and the activists working at the grassroots. We admire. Although in the journey, there are a lot of ups and downs, khatta-mita, it's natural. Nothing moves without resistance. Resistance will be there, but we have to move. So, with the great initiative, many success story, very difficult time, so we learn from it. So, keeping this in mind, I request Madam Guha Punam Tapil Kumar. She, as you know, this morning went to, she is from Indian Administrative Service from 2008. And she is posted currently as Scheduled Tribe and Scheduled Tribal Caste Development Department. In the morning, we heard from her. In the form of vote of thanks, she expressed many things which was of the content. So this time we're learning more from the content. And from my side, as a chairperson, we may lot of doing study research, but they are the people who implement it. They know where to go, where not to go. So, yes, ma'am. Poonamji. Yeah. And my dear friend, the time will be 10 to 15 minutes. That means after 10 minutes, we'll try to wind up. So that 12 to 30, 14 minutes completely. I know it's a difficult task, but we have to do it. Because if the first, second speaker do not take time on the dot, they deprive the other speaker. So when I take more time, I must keep in mind that I'm depriving others. If you remember that, you'll be managing.
No, sir, don't make it so formal, but thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. So we can just have a look at the experience of Odisha in the FRA implementation. Next. Now, wait. Am I audible now?
Yes.
An act to recognize and vest the forest rights and occupation in forest land, in forest dwelling, scheduled tribes, and other traditional forest dwellers who have been residing in such forest for generations, but whose rights could not be recorded, to provide for a framework for recording the forest rights so vested and the nature of evidence required for such recognition and vesting in respect of forest land. I think in the morning, speakers have spoken about each of these words. So we need to actually look at the essence of this, which is very important. Forest rights are perceived under categories such as rights on forest land, self-cultivation and habitation, community rights, rights over community forest resources, and developmental rights. Odisha is home to 62 tribes, including 13 PVTGs, and we are proud of this cultural heritage. 22.85% of its population belongs to scheduled tribes. It is almost 9% of the total tribal population of the country. 39% of land area is classified as legally recorded forests. 13 districts, 7 districts fully and 6 districts partly are declared as scheduled area. These are some of the key initiatives by our government. We can just quickly go through this. After the act came into being in 2008, we had the notification for constitution of the SDLC, DLC, and accordingly the SLMC, that is the state level monitoring committee, was also made during February 2008. In March 2008, Government of Odisha organized a special drive for constitution of FRC in all the Gram Sabha, including forest, unserved villages. State government, via this letter number, has authorized the Gram Sabha for issuance of caste certificates to scheduled tribes for the purpose of FRA. You would also have seen that for all practical purposes, a Palli Sabha is taken as Gram Sabha, which further makes it easy for us to provide these titles. The state government has issued directives to all the district collectors and DFOs to supply documentary evidences, maps, and case records to the Gram Sabha. All collectors have been impressed upon from time to time to involve CSOs and NGOs in this facilitation process. And I'm sure many of the district collectors have been taking support of civil society organizations. And during 2008, the Society of Retired Forest Officers, they had filed a writ petition. However, the stay was vacated. This is not going ahead. We also had a compendium of FAQs prepared, which have been circulated to all appropriate quarters. A series of training orientation programs. This is very important because, as we discussed in the morning, unless and until we have capacity building of all stakeholders, including the government officers and also consultants who are working in this particular venture, it is very difficult, and therefore continuous training and handholding sessions have been done of all officers, frontline workers, and PRI members. SCSTRTI has taken a lead in this direction in collaboration with UNDP. State government has also taken specific steps for sensitizing the PVTG communities. Again, we have 13 PVTG communities and we have to look at them. Therefore, sensitizing the PVTG communities, they are leaders who are residing in 17, now actually it is 20 micro project areas, which is a very important step. Our government is also regularly monitoring the implementation of the act with the district level administration. We have specific MPR and QPR in this, and we have at least quarterly monitoring of the FRA at the level of DC-COM ACS with all the district collectors. The act and the rules have been translated in Odia and 10 tribal languages and these have been widely circulated. This is again very important because you all will be very happy to know that we have about 21 tribal languages here in our state. So actually tribal languages and translation of these act and rules in tribal languages is itself a very important handholding support for the community. And the process to withdraw minor forest offense cases lodged against the scheduled tribe population has also been initiated. These are some of the key initiatives: compendium, training manuals, FAQ in Odia. We have also constituted FRA cells. These FRA cells have been constituted at the tehsil, at the sub-divisional and the district level. These FRA cells, actually many of the coordinators maybe are also part of this workshop. These coordinators have actually contributed to the role of the FRA implementation in our state, and we will also be honing in more in this entire use of technology, community leaders. These are some of the clips we will be explaining. I'll be explaining. So in order to expedite the FRA implementation process, 160 FRA cells have been constituted, and these cells are extending required support to the frontline officers as well as the Gram Sabha. Our department is issuing instructions for mandatory sharing of joint verification report and maps prepared by the RI, the revenue inspector, and the AMINs with the FRCs, the forest rights committees, to enable the placement and approval of the Gram Sabha. Apart from that, micro-planning approach has been done, and now we are also doing this FRA mission on a mission mode in order to expedite the processes at various levels. In the beginning, that is about 4 or 5 years back, retired RIs and AMINs had also been hired in order to expedite the processes related to the land records. And here, of course, the revenue department had also given us their valuable support. Our department have issued instruction for 100% coverage of PVTG households in MPS under the implementation of FRA, and we are also trying to have this on mission mode again through the OPLIP in order to bring all these FRA households to the level of livelihood saturation as well. One dedicated website that we were mentioning in the morning has been developed with the support of UNDP, mojangaljami.odisha.gov.in. It is in various stages of completion, and to facilitate the claim filing, documentation and monitoring of the FRA implementation process. This is of course for not only our niche clientele, but also for every such FRA pattadar who can actually access his right at the click of a mouse. A dedicated web page on FRA has been part of the departmental web portal. We also try to systematically update it from time to time. In about 1,200 villages, mapping of the IFR plot under FRA, and this is going on using the technical tool with the support of our NGO partner Pradhan. Series of discussion have been held with ORSAC to determine the georeference data of the plots recognized under FRA. ORSAC is the center. And with the help of SC/ST RTI, we are now coming up with habitat mapping process of the 13 PVTGs. This also I'll be explaining in the next slide. So in order to have saturation of this seemingly difficult exercise, we have come up with a mission known as Mission Mo Jangal Jami Adhikar, and we hope to complete the entire work in the next 2 years. This is the status of IFR. Number of claims received is about 6.28. Claims approved by the DLC 4.57. Number of titles distributed is 4.52, and the extent of area recognized is 6,65,000. Rate of approval is 73%. Average land recognized 1.5 acres. 11% of the total IFR claims received in India, and 21% of titles distributed. Community rights and community forest resource rights. Now we have to work more in that direction, but some effort has been made. Like number of potential villages with about 32,000 villages. Claims received is 9,000 odd. Number of claims approved is about 6,000. Titles distributed is about 4,000 and number of claims rejected is 869. Community forest resources right, 32,587 potential villages and number of titles distributed is 3,393. Claims rejected is 135. These are some of the significant post-right recognition initiatives by our state. The post-claim support to the right holders to ensure that all government schemes, including those related to land development, are given. Ours is the first state to issue instructions for coverage of FRA title holders under different schemes of government, be it rural housing or be it bamboo mission. And for this, the convergence has been done at the level of government, including principal secretary of 3-4 departments. And we have been giving letters to the district collectors and the divisional forest officers jointly signed by our respective secretaries. Apart from that, Chief Secretary Odisha has also laid importance on FRA through his various deliberations, instructions and letters issued to the district collectors. We have been able to link about 351,000 titles, pattas to various schemes of government. It is about more than 70%. This is the landscape that is covered under the government schemes here. One is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, BPGY is Biju Pakka Ghar Yojana, the state government rural housing scheme. Mo Pokhri is the Mo Pond Yojana. Land development under MGNREGS, National Mission for Bamboo and National Horticulture Mission. Other programs like supply of motor pump, etc., MGNREGS. Here I would also like to mention one very important program of our department named Mission Jivika, which is a cluster-based livelihood program which is funded by Article 275 of the Government of India, of the Constitution of India. And here in this program also, we are also taking up certain FRA plots under the Mission Jivika initiative. Correction of records is very important because, as sir was just mentioning, at the field level, when we just issue that title to that beneficiary, he will understand it only when you actually go and demarcate that plot for him and tell him, bhai, eta, this is your land. Ye aapka patta hai. And for that, this correction of record actually really comes in handy. And we have been able to do this in conjunction with the Revenue and Disaster Management Department of our state. And this is being done through the web portal of our revenue department named Bhulek and Bhunaksha. All the collectors as well as all the district officers have been regularly being appraised and handheld in this direction by our department as well as that of revenue. During the year 2019, a fund amounting to about 2,61 lakhs has been allotted to the concerned districts for this purpose. And the correction of ROR at present is 2,60,000. This is about 57% of the titles. So it actually we can understand in spite of so much effort, we have been able to reach 57%. Maybe not very significant, but not at the same time insignificant as well. This is one of the type, I think you can just make it out. This is one of the pattas that we give. Conversion of forest village to revenue village, another total different and very new paradigm. Even when I was in the district, that time it was brought to my notice by one of the civil society organizations working in my district, both in Devgarh as well as in Raigada. And now we are also bringing this to convert the forest villages into revenue villages, which is actually mandatory under 3(1)(h) of the Act. Here again, we are taking the support of the Revenue and Disaster Management Department as well as the Director Land Records and Surveys. On the left, you may have a look at the notification which is issued by the Board of Revenue in one of these villages. That is Kankadahar Tehsil of Dhenkanal district, which has been notified by Board of Revenue. Some of the initiatives, I'll just quickly run through. Mission Jangal Jami Adhikar to saturate. So what are the processes? One is community rights, community forest rights, record correction, A habitat right recognition process, unsurveyed or forest, zero area villages to be converted to revenue villages. Need assessment. For need assessment, I would like to mention one atlas has already been prepared by SC/ST/RTI, which can be a very good benchmark tool for us to go ahead. Sensitization and capacity building of stakeholders, be it the officer, be it the PRI member. Establishment of required institutional mechanism. Again, the FRA cell, the collector, the Gram Sabha, etc. Special drive for expeditious disposal of claims. Review of the progress against the plan at appropriate level. The review of the progress is very important because if we don't review, then we really do not understand what are the loopholes at various levels. So that has actually helped us in going from strength to strength. So our department, you can see the state FRA cell, the district level nodal officer, the district FRA cell, Tehsil FRA cell, the facilitation team, the civil society organization, the PRI member, the retired, the RI, the local youth, etc. And they all come together in planning, execution, and monitoring. These are the key stakeholders: Revenue and Disaster Management Department, Forest and Climate Change Department, Panchayati Raj and Drinking Water Department, ORSAC, special officers of our micro project, the district welfare officers, the PAITTS, civil society partners, and NGOs, and all of our stakeholders. The major expected outcome from the mission, all eligible claimants, primarily single, to be included in this mission. Here I would like to mention that the patta that we give, it is in the joint name of husband and wife, or wherever it is a single woman. We also have emphasized that even in the name of the single woman, the patta should be given after due verification. And this small effort actually is a very important effort towards giving her that right. Community rights, Community Forest Resource Management Committee, something that I would request the chair also to kindly deliberate upon, because we would like to understand the processes involved in the Resource Management Committee. Through convergence with different schemes and programs, correction of records has been done. And we have a concrete database of all claimants and benefits received.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, this is regarding the habitat rights, and I am thankful particularly to the SC/ST/RTI for having taken us a step forward in this direction, where I think we are the first in the country where we have been able to actually make some foray in the matter of habitat rights. However, only in case of two PVTGs, that is the Lodha community of Mayurbhanj and the Lanjia Sora of Putta Singh in Raigada and Gajpati, we have where no concept of habitat exists. Except for that, we have been able to make some foray in this, and we expect to complete the habitat mapping and the other processes at the earliest.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Hosting of websites, sir. Special convergence drives for livelihood enhancement. Here I would like to mention the Setu. I think all of you would have come across this word Setu, Malkangiri Chitrakonda. So for Setu program, again, we are trying to have a convergence of FRA over a particular patch of land covering 9 GPs under lemongrass cultivation. And the second is the Mission Jivika program that I just mentioned. This we will be doing in conjunction with Article 275. State plan as well as MGNREGS. It is a livelihood cluster development program. And third is the minor forest produce that has been discussed since morning. In minor forest produce, we have TDCON as the agency for procurement of minor forest produce, and we are also trying to take up some marketing initiatives, especially in the field of tamarind. This is the monitoring that is being done.
I request you please conclude.
Sir, it is, I think, last 1 or 2 slides only. FRA cell with the DEO and coordinator. The FRA Atlas that I just mentioned, this would be a very important tool for all of us in order to understand which are the gaps remaining in the field. and to give them the kind of convergence that is required. This is also GIS enabled, so it will be very helpful. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, ma'am. She has covered many other points, particularly for the Odisha. We all know how it has been. So we will hold the question and at the end of all presentation, we have discussion. I have many questions for clarification. Yeah. That will help others. Yeah. Now, this Sanjay Gaurji. Sanjay Gaurji is Deputy Commissioner, Tribal Development Department in Government of Chhattisgarh. My dear friends, you all know the advancement and accomplishment of Chhattisgarh, particularly in the field of FRA, and that too with the Tribal Development Department. He has also been working at different stages, but now today he will be sharing some of the experiences of Chhattisgarh, particularly from the FRA, implementation and the lessons learned.
Honorable Chair for this session, Dr. V.S. Roy ji, Professor Pandey ji from IIFM Madhya Pradesh, Dr. A.B. Ota ji, and other distinguished panelists and distinguished experts from across the states and friends. First of all, I congratulate Odisha government for hosting this very important national level workshop. And this is the right occasion. This is the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. This is 75 years of our independence. So on this occasion, to conduct such a workshop is very important. So I really congratulate them. And also I congratulate them and thanks them for their great hospitality they have extended to us, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Chhattisgarh is a comparatively new state. If we compare with Odisha, we are only 22 years old. So this is the journey as far as the FRA is concerned. Slide nothing.
That is a presentation. It have to be a screen sharing. Sir, I'll do it.
Yes.
So FRA is implemented in the state right from its inception, January 2008. There are 28 districts in our state and 25 are covered under FRA. So we have 13,582 FRCs in 25 districts, 84 SDLCs and 25 DLCs. This is the progress so far. As far as the IFR is concerned, the claims filed 8,72,000, approved claims 4, and the title distributed 4,51,000, and the land recognized under IFR is 3,67,000 hectares. As far as the CR is concerned, more than 50,000 cases claims filed, 46,000 approved, and the titles distributed 45,798, and the land recognized under CR is 19,83,000 hectares. As far as CFRR is concerned, 3,915 claims filed by the Gram Sabhas through FRCs, and approved claims are 3,805. titles distributed 3,704, and the land recognized under CFRR is 15,15,000 hectares. And the cases under section 3.2, that is the development under development rights, 7,800, more than 7,800 claims we have received. And by the user agencies, they have been filed in the Gram Sabha. Approved claims are 5,739, and the land recognized under section 3.2 is 4,263 hectares. And obviously, it is small because the only 1 hectare land can be recognized under section 3.2 of the Act. We have also initiated the FRA in urban areas, their implementation. So IFR recognition in urban areas of Chhattisgarh, we have received 398 claims, 210 claims have been approved, 179 titles distributed, and 39 hectares of land recognized. As far as CR is concerned, 7 claims received, all are recognized with 7.09 hectares of land. As far as CFRR is concerned, 4 claims received and all are recognized with 4,143 hectares of land has been recognized under CFRR in urban areas. And CFR recognized in national park for the tiger reserves. So we have 5 titles, we have claimed 5 and 5, all of them are distributed. And with 5,956 hectares of land have been recognized as far as the CFRR in national park or tiger reserve is concerned. The status of the claims rejected. Actually, we all know that the petition was filed in the Supreme Court, and the state government also files its replies in the Supreme Court and asking, actually submitting its that we are reconsidering the rejected claims. So after considering the rejected claims, 31,276 claims have already been accepted by the DLC, and the titles have been issued. And more than pending cases now only 996 as far as the rejected claims are concerned. Though there are some complaints and we are looking into it, but most of the claims have been disposed. The reported reasons for the rejection of IFR claims, it is important because the claims were over non-forest land or on the revenue lands. Occupation after 13 December 2005. No evidence of 3 generations of residence in case of OTFDs. Duplication of claims and no dependency on forest land for bona fide livelihood. So these were the reasons for rejection of claims. Now, the initiative taken by the government as far as the FR implementation in the state is concerned. So state, after this government has taken over, the state level meetings were organized in the presence of Honorable Chief Minister in Bastar and Sargoja given for the first time in the state. Series of offline and online district and block level training programs were organized even in the times of COVID-19. 14,000 FRA books in Hindi language were printed and disseminated up to Gram Sabha level, and I have this book with me here. Training material like posters and manuals were developed and distributed. Documentary film on awareness generation on FRA in Chhattisgarh, that is the regional language of our state, is made and circulated. Compendium on FRA circle is also being prepared, and the budget allocated to TRI to conduct capacity building program for stakeholders. So these are the initiatives as far as the awareness generation is concerned, and which is very important for as far as our state is concerned, because the awareness about the act at lower level is yet to be percolated properly. Towards strengthening of the mandated institutions, as far as we know, as I already told, that there are 13,582 FRCs at Gram Sabha level. The constitution of 18 SDLCs and 25 DLCs after Panchayat election in our state. Training of SDLCs and DLCs members, including PRI members. Clarification issued on various aspects. And SLMC meetings are being organized. MPR and QPRs is being sent regularly to GUI Mota. Now, Digitization, as far as the digitization is concerned, there is a directive issued by the MOTA that all the states should digitize their records under FRA. So we have also initiated the whatever they have directed. So digitization of FRA data has already been done in our state. And digitized in the department's website. Digitization of titles in dedicated portal with the help of chiefs is in process. Development of online monitoring and online claim portal with the help of UNDP is also in process. This aggregated data is being collected from the districts, and as far as information is available, the data on PVTGIFR titles till now 22,079 in the state. Available data on IFR title to single woman-headed household is 31,707. The ROR correction, as far as this is concerned, out of 4,51,000 IFR titles issued in the state by June 22, approximately 3.1 lakh Vanadhikar Pustikas have been issued to IFR title holders, and Revenue Department has made corrections of updated details of about 1,83,000. More than this, FIR pattas having 5,14,000 hectares in the Bhuiya web portal till July 2022, 4th July 22, and the technical support for the tribal department in collaboration with UNDP has set up a FRA cell at the state level for implementation and monitoring of FRA. And we have also set up FRA cells at district level as well as at SDLC level. Appointment of POs and FWs in all 25 DLCs and SDLCs. Actually, we had sent a proposal to MOTA last year in 21-22, and they have sanctioned our proposal. And we have demanded 2 crores, but we received actually 1 crore. And this involved the equipments, especially the computers and accessories, as well as the manpower at the district level. This proposal, under this proposal, so process is now underway for appointment of project coordinator in 25 DLCs and 29 field workers in 29 SDLCs, selected SDLCs to facilitate the implementation. As far as the monitoring and review of FRA implementation is concerned, series of review meetings are organized by the department with tribal SEs and other concerned district officials to review the progress of rejected claims. SLMC meetings are done under the chairmanship of the Honorable Chief Secretary. Inspection visits to the districts and issuance of clarifications directives by the administrative department and the Commissioner of Tribal Development. We also issued circulars, orders, and guidelines on various subjects to ensure effective implementation and we have to the DLCs, especially for the proper implementation of the acts. Also, the Foundation for Ecological Security, we have entered into an MOU with them, and they are extending support at the district level in 9 districts of the state for better implementation and facilitation for implementation on the ground, especially record keeping and the capacity building of the FRCs and Gram Sabhas. Besides, other NGOs are working with the district administration and Gram Sabhas. Special initiatives have one, the formation of district level convergence committee to extend post title support to the IFR and CFR title holders. So we have formed these committees at district level. Convergence of MG, NREGA and other development schemes with IFR and CFR beneficiaries and Gram Sabhas. The recent meeting was held just 1 day before on the 6th July, jointly taken by the NREGA commissioner and our commissioner, and all district officials at the block level officials were present, and they have attended this important meeting. Developing model on conversion of forest village into revenue village under 3(1)(h) of the Act. Formation of CFR Protection and Management Committee under Section 4(1)(e) of FR rules is proposed and under consideration at government level, including opening of bank accounts of Gram Sabha and dissolving JFMC and any other committee formed in a village over CFR area after the formation of the CFRP. Now we have sent a proposal to the government and it is under consideration, and once it is approved, this will be implemented in the state. Then facilitation for recognition of PVDG habitats right is started, yet it is in initial stage. Because the lack of clarification, we have also sought clarification from MOTA. And as far as we know that the guideline is to be issued by the MOTA maybe in few months' time. Then digital platform developed for data digitization and real-time monitoring. So these are the initiative taken by the state government. Now, as far as the post-claim support for IFR claimant is concerned, this is the picture. Land development work has been done for 1,02,000 beneficiaries, and the area treated was 54,000, more than 54,000 hectares, and the approved amount was more than 36,600 lakhs. Support for Munaras and seeds, agriculture appliances, area treated for irrigation, PM Awas Yojana, all these activities are taking place as far as post-claim support is concerned. Now, it is very important, our previous speakers also said about this. So, at the purchase of minor forest produce, the what we call it as Swamitva Sangrahan, the ownership rights, which is given in section 3(1)(c) of the Act. The state government is purchasing 52 MFPs through its state-owned Forest Produce and Marketing Corporation. Purchase of 52 MFPs on MSP, support MSP in place of 7 MFP earlier. And now it is also increased from 52 to 65 now. So at present, 65 MFPs are purchased on MSP. So their MSP has been declared. The government of Chhattisgarh is leading state, collecting purchasing 77% of the MFP in the whole country. In 2020-21, it was the data for that year. Value of the MFP collected in the last year was 1,123 crores. There are 3,500 villages, village level and 837 local market level collection centers managed by self-help groups having 52,000 members. So most of them SHGs, the members, most of them are tribals in these SHGs, tribal women especially. In the process, about 6 lakh families are being covered. About 1.20 crore have been distributed to SHGs as commission. Recently in Rajnandgaon district, about 13 Gram Sabhas are demanding to sell Tembu leaves in open market, which is under government consideration. This is also achievement as far as the FR implementation is concerned. 45,662 OTFDs have been issued IFR titles in the state. Jabarra was the first village that have been issued a CFRR. Area covering area recognized under CFRR was 5,352 hectares of forest land. CFRR title issued in Tiger Co-reserves in Dhankari districts. IFR and CFRR titles have been issued in urban areas, Jagdalpur, Kanker, Dhankari, Dantewad and Jashpur districts of Bastar division. And the success of IFR titles holders regarding livelihood is published in the name of Safalta Ki Kahani. Now the important issues and the challenges. Despite of our training clarifications, many districts still need to be empowered enough in following the due process while implementing the Act. So we receive complaints from the districts about the implementation, and we remove it and we guide them also. Despite progressive provisions under FRA and trainings provided to field functionaries, FRA Gram Sabha is yet to be strengthened and established as envisaged under FRA. Reporting format developed by MOTA need to be changed. Minor corrections to be incorporated to reflect the status of CFRR recognized in the state's duties, including recognized land. Okay, so within 2-3 minutes. Important issues, another more clarity is required so as to recognize habitat rights of the PVTs under FRA. So there should capacity building is also required both at the state level as well as district level. We have notified 431 forest villages into revenue villages, but the actual process under FRA has to be grounded. We are going to follow the process in pilot mode in some villages and will replicate in the forest all other villages and unsurveyed villages in the state. Also, we are facing the problems of internally displaced persons of Chhattisgarh. They have migrated to Telangana, and some of them now want to come to Chhattisgarh, and most of them want to settle in Telangana. And the NCST has directed us to solve this problem under Section 31M of the Act. So we are facing this issue, and we are trying to resolve it with cooperation of the government of Telangana as well as from the cooperation of the MOTA. There are some gaps. Actually, we need financial support for proper implementation of FRA at Gram Sabha level. Lack of trained manpower to facilitate claim making process, post-claim support and other activities at field level. Issue of better coordination among employees of revenue, forest, panchayat, raj at field level. Despite our consistent efforts, awareness over community forest resource rights and responsibilities of local community yet to be percolated at community level. ROR correction of the recognized forest land under forest department, it is also in initial stages. So we need our expectation from MOTA is that we need financial support from them. And we need also clarifications on the issues like habitat rights, CFR management, convergence and post-right support, interstate in situ rehabilitation and land acquisition and R&R in case of acquisition of IFR and CFR. The land. Thanks.
Thank you. बहुत धन्यवाद संजय जी on the particularly on the issues and the gap and challenges, which is very important. We find opportunity for discussion. बहुत अच्छा. Many thanks. Yeah, good. Now we have a next speaker, and I will again request the speaker to kindly restrict to the time. We have Professor Pandey, Professor from Indian Institute of Forest Management, Bhopal. Professor Pandey is chairperson of International Center for Community Forestry, which is very prestigious organization of the country, not only for IFM. He is also a member of the Madhya Pradesh Western Authority, the government, especially for the research and the environment. His environment anthropology, they focus on the collective action of natural resource management, public policy, corporate governance, and biodiversity conservation and evaluation. For 27 years, he has been active researcher, consultant, and trainer. He has done 50 research and consultancy projects funded by international and national organizations, including the World Bank, GIZ, UNDP, UNICEF, JICA, WRI, JSCP, European Union, CSR, DST, MOEF. He was a member of committee for the National Draft Forestry Policy. That's a very important thing, which we all know how important it is in the forest workers. He has trained many senior officers at the SAR and also from outside our country, more than 100 training. He has more than 30 publications in journals, books, chapters, and the report for the credit. His recent book, Corporate Biodiversity Management for Sustainable Growth Assessment and the Action Plan, is very important. So we have a very eminent faculty, practitioner, consultant, Professor Amitabh Pandey.
Thank you, sir. Respected S.B. Roy, sir, chairperson. He's also my teacher. He given me training. Professor A.B. Ota, sir, director SCST, SCNST, and TRI Institute. Another senior to me. I've been learning from him. I have my respected teacher, Professor K.K. Mishra, sitting here, and Professor Das also is there. Yes, we have 3 generations sitting here. My teacher is there, and my student Shayani Chatterjee is also here. So that's the beauty of this such conferences, which brings you to these platforms. So many things about my 2 speakers prior to me have done it. There are the various issues. They are raised by Odisha, Poonamji and the Chhattisgarh Sanjay ji. They are all happening. So the crucial takeaway is the forest village and a revenue village. If your land is in a forest village, still the jurisdiction of administration is with the forest department. So completion of the record after giving right also is there or not, what Poonamji is saying, because so conversion is there. So those issues are there. I'll be just talking on certain other issues. My focus is how to go beyond FRA, because what are some research which have happening, what is the processes of this is FRA, and then what could be done and what fund could be channelized. This is going to be 15 years after the FRA has come up. What is the level of change? If we have brought this to remove the injustice, injustice is giving by only the patta, injustice is by removing their poverty. You are, unless you make them capable, sustainable, all these practices may not bear the fruit for which all the agitation or all the processes happen. So just moving around, this is have been highlighted by my friends. So basically that's it talks about beautifully, just see the act. It is forest right. What is a right in the morning? That was very much cleared by both the lawyer and the one of the speakers. It is what you own it. So you have a right to the forest areas. There was a beautiful play played by our students. I'll just narrate it. That had Lord Rama been during this time, he would not have reached Lanka because he would have been jailed by forest department. So imagine that. Access to forest and going through forest is an important thing. Then Madhya Pradesh again is an important state. We have 49 scheduled tribes, which constitute 3 PVTGs. I differentiate between the 3 things, and we somehow have given a common name to the scheduled tribe. There is scheduled tribe, there is PVTG, and there is DLT. There are 3 different categories, and when you are dealing with the tribal development, you should be very clear. And in my one of the studies, I find just by giving the scheduled tribe status, PVTGs are losing on their benefits. So clarity of identity becomes very important. Despite the state, it's the leading state. It is number 3. Some statistics for your claim. The claims are received, and individual claims which has been received is 5 lakhs, around 6 lakhs, distributed around 2.5 lakhs. The forest given is around 9 lakhs of acres. Now, ecology, sustainability, sustainable development, and ecological development all has to be seen. Now, livelihood and sustainable development debate is also be there. Go for the community rights. They are again around 41,027 given. Community rights are more defined in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh was part of it. Already the Nistar rights are defined here. So that's why the claims became easy for us. So claims received is the highest, percentage rejected was 45. Betul is a study which in a study it found that they have done it highest number of claims given to the individuals. Rejected claims is 68. Umaria reported 0 rejection because Umaria is again a scheduled area. Let me clarify, there is Madhya Pradesh has around 30 districts under scheduled area. 90 Madas blocks are there. So, and tribal administration is a very different, and earlier 2 presentation never mentioned about tribal development role into the whole process. It's the revenue. It's the revenue department and the forest department. And this policy is of the MOTA. This policy is of the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So very clarity, when I deal with public policy, I teach public policies. Your structures and functions should be very clear. If your structures and functions are dubious, your goals will be also not fully achieved. So in some policies, if you see that clearly, there's a policy you have a problem. In Mandla and Jhabua, the total rejection rate of communities is very low. So again, they are the tribal districts. Tribal rights have been very clearly given. Let me move next slide and you can see. So this is a study which has come up. Majority of scheduled tribes rights have been given. Around 90% when scheduled tribes is given. Scheduled caste and OBC is again not given because they are the other forest dwellers. Defining the other forest dwellers right is very difficult. Who is going to give 75 years of patta, that certificate? We did an analysis of forest village establishment in the central Madhya Pradesh. The first forest village which was established was in 1936. And forest village was making claim for a FRA, other forest dwellers. So 70 years of residence by the record. And ironically, 120-year-old woman standing there, 80 saal se hai. So all those, if you believe, is happening. So person belonging to the general caste is again very low. Developing it, this policy has to be relooked on this point. I wanted a totally tribal policy. 93% of the respondent claims rates and other dependence on the forest is medium and above. Dependency being manifold as a primary source of livelihood. Agriculture, forest land, catering to the subsistence need of NTFP and all those things there. As per the claim, less than. So claims are settled within few months to the 3 years. That is a gap we can see. The journey appears. And now just keep in your center the poor tribal to fight for this claim. So can he spend that time and energy and money? And what Poonamji was saying, completing the process of into the land records that his name has been registered on the land record data. Process completes there. So this process after getting patta has to that process. So it's a journey which should be taken in mind when we are trying to deal with it. Community claims have been better in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, I said it. They already had Nishtar Pustika published by the Forest Department. So the rights of using forest for forest fringe villages, which are within the periphery of 5 kilometers, have been already recognized in the past. And that was used to convert into a forest community rights. And that was also given. It's not because already there was an order by the State Department. Acceptance of that order was there. So forest right issues was not much. Highest claim has been under the category of Nistar, what I was mentioning. Other rights of minor forest produce. Community claims for use of entitlement of fishing, water bodies, grazing, traditional access to nomadic is low. And this is where FRA is again a land-based policy. It is just talking about land, and tribals are not land. What about the Agaria's right of smelting iron? He gets it from the river. He gets from his coal is made from the sal wood. So what about those issues? That's why when you read the Act Forest Right, that all kind of rights were there. Somehow we have converted it to a land right. Individual claims is prominency, forest right and CFR and community FR. So this is a food for thought for you people. Implementing challenges, basically, this is, let me bring this. Yeah. So village reported that forthcoming from Gram Sabha, Forest Right Committees, officials, tribal revenue department. So these were the different stakeholders involved. Sustained effort of awareness generation, particularly Gram Sabha, Panchayat Raj level, through difficulties persist, particularly in the remote areas, considering that most of the target claimant are not literate. And we are forgetting the vernacular languages. भील का वहां जो भीली बोली जाती है उसको आप हिंदी में लाख समझाइए उसको समझ नहीं आएगा. So our communication is again a big challenge. How you communicate is you are telling your stories. So it's the right beneficiary is getting. I am throwing questions to Niti Aayog. Again, the primary stakeholder you have to see it. Then officials in many districts observed maximum help in extending to the claimant and the lenient facilitative approach and a lenient. So both were there. adopted to the extent possible. Officials do admit that owing to the high level of illiteracy, most claimants fail to understand the matter. So there are less cases of appeal. Ultimately, the onus of appeal is on the individual claimant. He has to make the appeal. He is a person who puts his thumbprints. What document goes on? So this is again how much effort state is doing, and all those things become being made. The bona fide claims are not rejected. So bona fide claims of tribals are very clear. But other forest dwellers become because when I have been studying the whole area of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and I see communities have moved down from UP to this area and they are settled in this area. All kind of caste communities are there, and they have become the dominant caste of that village. They control it, even they are the kind of zamindars. So there are other forest dwellers by definition. So you have to understand those things. Okay, so this is not moving. Just a minute. Yeah, so I come to overall outcome. Apart from the tangible material benefits, including the easier access to the government schemes, the conferment of such rights has also contributed intangibles such as community mobilization, access to the management of natural resource, and religious gain. Land does give you some intangible benefit. So that also these communities are getting. That's why the whole focus is on giving to the land. The tremendous effort, awareness generation, and facilitating claims, including through the technological solutions, are tested in the field need to be acknowledged, and the state needs to be kept to keep us in good work. So efforts is being made by all the government. All the basically 2000, and everybody was at the place how to implement it. And government implementation process, if you enter there, you'll understand on one time you're behaving differently, suddenly attitudinal change coming into the department. It's not one act doesn't bring that attitudinal change. It has to be sustained process of interfacing. A very good officer, that's why some very good officers bring a certain good change and they become the point of reference, and others starts following it. So that's also is there. Yeah, the tremendous effort of the generation and facilitating claims. Okay, that is there. Rejected claims indicate that rejection are in large part owing to the inability to provide the necessary documentary evidences along with the invalid claim compounded by the illiteracy. So why they are rejected? Ultimately, who gets the right on the land? Person who was encroached and he gets a POR from the forest department. That is the evidence. If forest department doesn't acknowledge your encroachment, your claim is not there. He says it's not. It's basically the forest department has to give a POR. And smartly I came to know again there, when the forest department understood, they started also not acknowledging it. It's a politics of policies, if you see. Okay. Administration has taken number of steps in the state to address this. Roadmap, I'm just moving. What after the land has been taken? I acknowledge my friend Poonamji is talking about some land reclamation under the Narega or Chhattisgarh. Important is how do you use NRLM and DRDA schemes to dovetail so that we can see a change. Both sustainable, what I agree with morning, my senior Roy sir was talking about that parameters of sustainability, because ultimately this act has a very dominant term is sustainability. Anything can be taken care from that. So for even community right, access to benefit. Important thing is that I don't know. Morning he referred to the Biodiversity Act. Sometimes Biodiversity Act negate FRA. Though FRA has a line that it supersedes all earlier. It supersedes all earlier, but then under IUCN Act and international acts, you try to have an issue. So, but again, coming to the once you have taken the community rights, you have taken the individual rights, go for acknowledging your community biodiversity resource, do the biodiversity register mapping. Interestingly, this problem came to me and in Delhi in ministry, around 19 PCCF telling and asking villagers to prepare the biodiversity register. I asked them, why should they do it? You are paid for that, why should they do it? And how do they do it? How will they identify the so many species? आपके पास botanical name है, आपके पास herbarium है, आपके पास tribal doesn't have it. They the knowledge, the healer may be having it, experts may be having it, commoner may not be having it. And then make use of Green India Mission program, that is greening, agroforestry, bamboo mission program, then KVIC Spurti program. They are not dovetailed to this FRS and they can bring into enterprise development. Rural startup is a big, and around the NTFPs, the FRA children are there. And RLM is coming with 20 lakhs of enterprise development for one unit. So another climate change is an area where FRA can be lands can be used because they are again generating green cover that can be traded off. And this is NABARD fund. Getting NABARD fund to FRA is also possible. So you can do it. There are projects going on. NABARD has other. This is Madhya Pradesh NABARD. 6,000 crore money was there. Fund is not a problem. Find the right agency. And they are also dying to give money. Recently, CGM NABARD was into I was conducting the mid-career training for senior forest officers. He was pleading कि आइए पैसा लीजिए. But process is important. So, and this is Wadi program. I think so very suitable for FRA land and the watershed development program. Some projects which can take up around the park area. Ecotourism can be coming in FRA. Carbon positive villages are there. This is a case of Manipur, but in Mandla and other places, we can have certain FRA villages taking the community rights. They can become very positive, eco-positive villages. And they, because FRA is always at the target of attack. What is good there? But let us bring certain good out of it. Because it's seen that forest department sees land is taken, revenue feel कि हमारा बेड़ा खत्म हुआ, because ultimately it comes to there. What is coming to the villages? What is the collectively? Value chain is basically the land which is given under the FRA quality is a very bad land. You can grow only the traditional crops. And Odisha has done a very good study. I think so. Professor Srijit Mishra has done a very good. So that can be taken as a case and you can go for it. Benefit of climate change is there. Coming to the end, sir, I'll take. Important aspect is also you are vertically linked to the SDG. All activities is vertically how your FRA is also affecting it. You need to see it. This is ecosystem services. These areas are giving. Ecosystem services are very important. The areas which are under the community rights. The streams are coming and giving water, and all the rivers down the Madhya Pradesh are the forest-fed rivers. And the community conserved areas are very good sources of water conservation and retention. So they can become very important. Concluding, forest right has transformed the landscape. That's happening. And I would like to agree with my senior Professor Roy. Landscape management approach should be integrated with FRA. That's a very good solution coming up where water, land, grasslands are integrated, and FRA individual rights can also play a very crucial role. Rights have been recognized. Implementation process is expected to improve for clarification and amendment. My friend from Chhattisgarh has also talked about it. Community rights are recognized over large area. Local people have control over the management and conservation of resource. While the recognition of rights, they will have some control over the management and protected area, which institutions have not been created. GFM was an institution. Because of this, it has not done very well. For community forest areas, institution. And I would have requested, have been happy had BSS committee who are doing CFR in Odisha had been here. One of the studies of IFM is there where they have documented how this are taking over the responsibility of managing community forest resource. So that is where we would have got a good learning if BSS are there. Community would have access to commercially important like this NTFP. So these are something which I wanted to share. Basically, Coming to the critical habitat, I'm part of, I worked with interesting, I'll put up a case to you people. There is a Saharia community living in the Shivpur. They were relocated for creation of a lion park, national land park. Because of politics, land park is not coming. It is a PVTG. FRA rights apply to them because they relocated. Now, rather than giving to them, exotic cheetahs are coming from Africa. Where is the human? Vulnerable Saharia. Again, lion was vulnerable, agreed. But okay, I will not go lions are success or failure, but how are we thinking? And unless there is some thought process, जरूरी है कि अफ्रीका का चीता हम यहाँ देखें? नहीं देखेंगे, भाई हम हमारा आदमी सुखी रहे. At least thinking process has to be coming up. So I have a question for people. Do the claim of Saharia into that area still remain after relocation? Because another case is that after relocation, your forest rights are gone away or not. And I know somewhere forest officers are talking, they leave, they don't have right after they relocate. Food for thought. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Professor Pandey, many important things there, but we understand the time constraint, and we have to do justice without the speaker also. We'll take up all these issues what you have mentioned. Very, very important one indeed. Yes, friends, now the next speaker is us. Sri Prakash Bhandari. So, see, Sri Ravida had here. Oh, here. Sri is Deputy Commissioner, Director Tribal Development from Gujarat. Sri PU also Assistant Commissioner Director, Tribal Development Gujarat. So now Ravadia is always presenting. Yes. The Deputy Commissioner, Director Tribal Development Gujarat. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Roisha.
We'll request to kindly stick to 10 minutes and after that we have detail.
Okay.
Yeah, शुरू करें.
Dr. Roisha and other respected dignitary and participant. गुजरात में जो काम हुआ है ये हमने इस पर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन देखा है. गुजरात में अभी 14% एरिया जो है वो ट्राइबल एरियाज है और अराउंड 89 लाख पॉपुलेशन है गुजरात में. और गुजरात का जो ईस्टर्न पार्ट है उसमें 14 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन स्टे करती है. ऑलमोस्ट 53 ब्लॉक्स है और उसमें जो एफआरआई का जो काम हो रहा है उसका नोडल डिपार्टमेंट गुजरात में ट्राइबल डेवलपमेंट डिपार्टमेंट ही है. और अभी तक जो काम हुआ है उसमें 3799 एफआरसीज फॉर्म हुई है. 14 ब्लॉक लेवल कमिटीज है, 14 डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल है और एक स्टेट लेवल कमिटीज है. और जब एफआरआई का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हो ही रहा है तब सबसे फर्स्ट इज 25 ओरिएंटेशन प्रोग्राम इन डिफरेंट लैंड डिपार्टमेंट और जो कंसर्न ऑफिसर्स इसमें इन्वॉल्व है उसकी ट्रेनिंग हुई है. और अदर स्टेट की तरह गुजरात में भी गुजराती लैंग्वेज में बुकलेट्स टेम्पलेट्स वगैरह प्रिपेयर करके विलेज लेवल कमेटी विलेज लेवल जो उनको डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की गई है और ऑलमोस्ट 3 लाख टेम्पलेट्स वगैरह. आफ्टर दिस एफर्ट्स जो काम शुरू हुआ है उसमें फर्स्ट जो रो है 1,82,000 क्लेम्स हमारे पास आए थे इंडिविजुअल क्लेम्स और उनमें से अभी तक जो हमने है 92,000 मोर देन 92,000 केस जो है वो हमारे अप्रूव है. और 90,000 केस अभी भी हमारे पेंडिंग है। दूसरा जो है हमारा कम्युनिटी राइट्स का है, जो 7,000 मोर देन 7,000 एप्लीकेशंस थी, उसमें से हमारी अप्रूवल 4,700 हुई है और 2,000 मोर रिजेक्टेड है। और जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिलेटेड जो स्कूल वगैरह में जो रिक्वायर्ड थी वो 1,800 एप्लीकेशन रिसीव हुई है, उसमें से 1,700 अप्रूव हुई है और 107 जो है वो रिजेक्ट है। ऑन एन एवरेज गुजरात में भी 1.5 एकड़ लैंड जो अभी तक दी गई है, उसमें से 1.5 एकड़ लैंड दी गई है। और एरिया भी नीचे हमने लिखा है कि 63,000 हेक्टेयर अभी तक इंडिविजुअल राइट्स में हुआ है, 5 लाख मोर देन 5 लाख और हमारा कम्युनिटी राइट्स में हुआ है। अभी जो हमारा चैलेंज जो है वो हमारा जो 9,000 जो पेंडिंग केसेस है, उसको फर्स्ट टाइम हमने 2 बार हमने उनको चेक किया। फर्स्ट टाइम इज आवर स्टेट की जो ट्राइबल एडवाइजरी कमेटी की जो मीटिंग्स हुई थी, तो उसको हेड करते हैं चीफ मिनिस्टर साहब। तो उसी टाइम डिसाइड हुआ था कि एक बार हम फिर से चेक करेंगे। अर्ली हमने चेक किया, उसमें से काफी कुछ पॉजिटिव केसेस निकले जिसमें हमने अप्रूव किया। आफ्टर सेकंड टाइम इस गुजरात हाई कोर्ट डायरेक्शन के बाद हमने एक बार फिर से चेक किया। उसके बाद अभी हमारे पास 9,000 केस जो हमने अभी रिजेक्ट नहीं किए हैं, जिसमें एक ही लैंड पे 2-3 फैमिली का एप्लीकेशंस है, एक ही फैमिली में नंबर ऑफ पर्सन का एप्लीकेशन है, एक का भी कुछ एविडेंस ही नहीं है, ऐसे काफी कुछ केसेस है इसमें कैटेगरी वाइज। तो उसको हमने अभी जस्ट कुछ टाइम पहले काफी हमारे जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस है, खास करके जो लोकल लेवल पे एनजीओ जो काम कर रही है उनका सपोर्ट से हमने उनको सैटेलाइट इमेज से एक बार और वेरीफाइड करने का काम शुरू किया है। तो उसमें जो हमारा प्रोसेस जो वर्कआउट किया है, उसमें फर्स्ट के जितने भी केसेस हमारे पेंडिंग थे उनको रीलिस्टिंग कर लिया ताकि कोई छूटे नहीं और कोई रहा नहीं। उसके बाद उसकी विलेज लेवल पे जो हमारी एफआरसी है, वही एफआरसी मेंबर्स और विलेज यूथ को जो सैटेलाइट इमेज क्रिएट करना है विलेज लेवल पे, सेव फाइल जिसको कहते हैं, उसके लिए ट्रेन किया। उसमें हमारी काफी आर्ट्स वाहिनी यहाँ पे है, वो भी काफी उसमें सपोर्ट कर रही है। डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और हमारा ट्रैवल डिपार्टमेंट तीनों मिलके और विलेज कमेटी, उनको कंप्लीट ट्रेनिंग के बाद उनका रीसर्वे जितने भी पेंडिंग थे उनका फिर से विलेज वाइज वो कमेटी ने रीस्टडी कर लिया और उसकी फिर वहाँ पे एक छोटी सी डिवाइस थ्रू सैटेलाइट मैपिंग थ्रू उनकी एक सेव फाइल क्रिएट कर लिया। वो सेव फाइल है वो 4 स्टेज और एसएलसी जो है हमारी, वो उनको वेरीफाइड करके गिर फाउंडेशन जो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट की एक इंस्टीट्यूशन है ऑटोनॉमस, वो इस काम के लिए एक्सपर्टाइज है उसके पास। वो फॉरेस्ट का जो गिर फाउंडेशन है वो टोटली सॉफ्टवेयर बेस्ड वेरीफाइड करने का काम करता है। तो 5 स्टेज में हम उनको वो पूरा रो डेटा उनको भेज देते हैं। गिर फाउंडेशन थ्रू उनका पूरा वेरिफिकेशन करके वो क्लेम्स अप्रूव्ड है या जो डिमांड किया है उससे कम है या रिजेक्ट है, वो एक सैटेलाइट थ्रू चेक करके वापस वो डीएलसीसी को देगा। डीएलसीसी फील्ड वेरीफाइड और डेटा जो वेरीफाइड होके आया है उनके ऊपर फाइनल उनका डिसीजन देगा इस 6 स्टेज में। और 7 में फिर वो यदि यस है तो उनको अप्रूवल प्रोसेस में डाल के 8 में हम उनको टाइटल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करते हैं। 8 स्टेज में हमने टोटली प्रोसेस को डिवाइड किया है। उसमें अभी तक जो वर्क हुआ है हमारी 14 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में से 10 डिस्ट्रिक्ट का हमारा ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम कंप्लीट हो चुका है। 4 डिस्ट्रिक्ट का जो अभी चल रहा है वो एंड ऑफ जुलाई इज कंप्लीटेड। और वो सर्वे का जो काम था, क्लेम्स जितने हमारे पास पड़े उनका फील्ड सर्वे का काम था, उसमें से अभी हमारे पास 18,000 क्लेम, 90,000 में से 18,000 क्लेम 8 डिस्ट्रिक्ट का हमने स्टडी कर दिया और वो काम भी अभी चल रहा है। उसमें भी हमारे जो साथी है लोकल एनजीओज और लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, वो सब लोग साथ में रह के करते हैं। और 18,000 जो हमने स्टार्ट लिया है उसमें से डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल कमेटी के पास वेरीफाइड करके 13,000 केस दे दिया है, और 13,000 जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल कमेटी है उसने गिर फाउंडेशन को वेरीफाइड के लिए भेज दिया। और गिर फाउंडेशन का अभी तक का जो वेरिफिकेशन हो चुका है कंप्लीटली, वो 2000 केसेस का हो चुका है। तो 2000 केसेस में से 900 केसेस जो है वो क्लियर है, ओके है। दैट मीन्स कि अभी नियरेस्ट 40-45% हमारा केस जो है वो सैटेलाइट इमेजरी से पॉजिटिव अप्रूव हो रहा है। फर्स्ट स्टेज इज फील्ड लेवल का, जो ये ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम के कुछ फोटोज है। ये स्मॉल डिवाइस है जिसे जीपीएस थ्रू हम उनका जो प्लॉट डिमांड किया है, क्लेम किया है, वो हम मेजरमेंट करके उनके जो छोटे पीसेस दिख रहे हैं वो उसकी इमेजरी और प्लॉट नंबर उसका आ गया। इसके बेस पे ही वो शेप फाइल क्रिएट हो गई है, और वो शेप फाइल हमारा डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, एफआरसी मेंबर्स और जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है वो सब लोग साथ में मिलकर करते हैं, ताकि उसमें दूसरा कुछ एरर या कम्युनिकेशन गैप या इंफॉर्मेशन गैप होने के चांसेस कम से कम हो जाए। सेकंड स्टेज जो है वो गिर फाउंडेशन थ्रू जो वेरीफाइड करना है, तो सॉफ्ट कॉपी जो आएगी गिर फाउंडेशन के पास, उसके साथ साथ एक एक्सेल शीट में उनकी पूरी डिटेल्स भी आएगी। तो गिर फाउंडेशन जितना भी शेप फाइल आएगी उसका जो इमेजरी चाहिए वो इमेजरी एनआरएससी से डिमांड करेगा। तो वहां से इमेजरी जो आएगा उसका डिफरेंट 2 सॉफ्टवेयर है, और 2 टाइप की इमेज हम लेते हैं। एक है बहुत छोटा सा जो चीज है वो भी दिखाई दे 2 मीटर तक की, वो भी इमेज आ जाती है, और एक ब्रॉड इमेज लेते हैं। तो फर्स्ट इज जो फॉरेस्ट का जो मैपिंग है, खुद का मैप है फॉरेस्ट का, वो रहता है, इमेज रहती है, उसके ऊपर कलर शेडो इमेज आएगी, ताकि छोटी छोटी हर एक चीज जब वेरीफाइड करेंगे तब आसपास की दिखेगी, ताकि हम क्लियर डिसीजन उनके ऊपर उसको दे सकेंगे। तो सेकंड इमेज जो कॉर्नर वाली है वो एक्सेल शीट आई है, वो तीसरी जो है वो सॉफ्टवेयर से जनरेट हुई है, वो ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट है। इसमें 2 मीटर्स तक का जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट्स है वो आपको रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा। अभी ये ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट इमेज में हमें इतना क्लियर नहीं हो रहा है कि इसमें फॉरेस्ट क्या है और एग्रीकल्चर हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, वो भी हमें इतना पता नहीं चल रहा है। तो थर्ड स्टेप में जाता है, ये जो ऊपर वाली फर्स्ट स्लाइड है वो कलर इमेज आएगी, जो लिस्ट फॉर इमेज उनको टेक्निकल टर्मिनोलॉजी में कहते हैं, जिसे हमें पता चलेगा कि इसमें फॉरेस्ट क्या है और एग्रीकल्चर क्या हो रहा था। उसको और थोड़ा सा क्लीन करेंगे तो सेकंड इमेज में हमें थोड़ा क्लीन दिख रहा है। ये जो 25A दिख रहा है वो क्लियर दिख रहा है, उसमें एग्रीकल्चर ही है। और ऊपर वाला जो बी दिख रहा है इस फॉरेस्ट है, वो ट्री दिख रहे हैं। और एक थर्ड जो दिखाया गया है उसमें पार्टली फॉरेस्ट है और पार्टली उसमें एग्रीकल्चर हो रहा है। तो ये 3 इमेज को और क्लियर किया, तो थर्ड जो पिंक लिखा हुआ है और येलो लिखा हुआ है उसमें से हमें पता चल गया कि एक जो 25 है वो फुल्ली अप्रूव है, जो डिमांड किया उस हिसाब से सही है, तो उसको हम अप्रूव करेंगे। सेकंड जो उसमें पार्ट अप्रूव है, पार्ट में फॉरेस्ट दिख रहा है, तो उसने जो मेजरमेंट दिखाया है उनसे कम ये जो मेजरमेंट हो रहा है उतना अप्रूव करके गिर फाउंडेशन सेंड करेगा। और थर्ड जो है वो फुल्ली ट्री कवर्ड है, तो उसको हम रिजेक्ट करेंगे अभी। तो ये इनसे काफी हमें हेल्प मिल रही है और काफी क्लियरिटी भी आ रही है, और एकदम क्लियर हम उनका प्लॉट वगैरह मेजरमेंट भी इनके साथ जाता है। और ये पूरी सीट्स जो है वो सीट वापस डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे जाती है, और डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे जब जाती है तो एक नीचे एक्सेल शीट में दिखाया हुआ है, तो विलेज नेम है, ब्लॉक नेम है, वो आईडी नंबर है, फिर क्लेमेंट का नाम है, फिर उसका नंबर है, प्लॉट नंबर क्या है वो है, और जीपीएस ने कितना एरिया सजेस्ट किया था और अभी गिर फाउंडेशन कितना एरिया सजेस्ट कर रहा है, तो फर्स्ट जो येलो में दिख रहा है वो 96.96 सजेस्ट किया था, मगर उसमें 48 ही गिर फाउंडेशन सजेस्ट कर रहा है बेस्ड ऑन सैटेलाइट इमेज। और सेकंड जो है वो 1.17 सजेस्ट किया था, मगर ये फुल्ली कवर्ड है ट्री से, तो वो 0 कर रहे हैं, उसको रिजेक्ट कर रहे हैं। थर्ड इज द 0.60 सजेस्ट किया था, वो उतना ही सैटेलाइट इमेज से भी मिल रहा है, तो वो उस हिसाब से यस करके दे। तो
ये आप जरा संक्षेप में बताएंगे
जी सर,
क्या लेसन लर्न
सर इसमें हमें
बाकी लोगों के लिए एक सीख बनेगी।
जी, इसमें अभी तक हमारा 2000 केसेस जो मैंने आगे बताया, उसमें से अभी 900 केस जो है क्लियर आ रहे हैं।
अच्छा,
दैट मीन्स के 45% हमें रिजल्ट मिल रहा है, जिसके पास फिजिकल डॉक्यूमेंट कुछ भी नहीं है। ये सारे केसेस ऐसे हैं कि जिसके पास फिजिकल डॉक्यूमेंट कुछ भी नहीं है, तो ये डॉक्यूमेंट क्रिएट हो रहा है उसका, कि उसका दैट टाइम की इमेज है, जो हमारी कट ऑफ डेट है उस टाइम की इमेज हम मंगवा रहे हैं। तो उस टाइम पे यदि क्लियर ओपन है और एग्रीकल्चर वाला पोर्शन दिख रहा है, दैट मीन्स के उसका कहना सही है कि मैं खेती कर रहा हूँ, तो फिर हम उनको अलाउड कर रहे हैं। डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी हो रहा है साथ साथ में। अभी तक जो हमारा 92,000 जो क्लेम अप्रूव्ड हो चुका है, उसमें से 64,000 जो हमारा मेजरमेंट हो चुका है, और उसमें से जो RORs में जो एंट्री करनी है वो भी 80,000 की हमारी एंट्री कंप्लीट हो चुकी है। और ये अदर देन FRA यानी FRA प्लस जो हमारा कन्वर्जन है आफ्टर जो हमने पट्टा वगैरह दे दिया है, उसके बाद एक स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने हमने खुद 14-15 से एक स्कीम लॉन्च की हुई है कि उसको सपोर्ट के लिए, जिसके लिए उसको लेवलिंग्स है, इरिगेशन के लिए मशीनरीज चाहिए, उनको एग्रीकल्चर फीड्स चाहिए, सीड्स वगैरह, ये सारी चीज सपोर्ट स्कीम है, जिसमें अभी तक हमने 22,000 बेनिफिशियरी को सपोर्ट किया है, और 3,000 लाख उसमें अभी तक एक्सपेंडिचर हुआ है। और उनका स्किल अपग्रेडेशन के लिए भी काम चलता रहता है। एग्रीकल्चर प्रैक्टिसेस के लिए हमारा TRI जो है वो सारी ट्रेनिंग उनको FRA बेनिफिशरीज के लिए करता रहते हैं। अदर देन डिपार्टमेंट के सिवाय जो एग्रीकल्चर स्कीम्स चलती है, उसमें भी अभी तक जो है मेजर एग्रीकल्चर स्कीम्स जो है उसमें से 28% जो बेनिफिट्स है, तो वो उनके उसमें FRA बेनिफिशरीज कवर हो रहे हैं। तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने सारे डिपार्टमेंट्स को भी लिखा है, और ट्राइबल डेवलपमेंट की भी सारी स्कीम्स है, उसमें भी प्रायोरिटी जो है वो FRA बेनिफिशरीज को देने के लिए रखा है। थैंक यू सर। ये कुछ फोटोज है। थैंक यू।
My defense is deputy, and there are many issues even I have already mentioned. Yes, please. No, इस सेक्टर में 3-4 की बात करेंगे। The many states have done very good job even for Gujarat. We have been interacting like Ambrish Bhai and others. They have done how to take from satellite and mapping with the water department. Very good lessons they have learned. तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और अभी हम लोग टी ब्रेक चाय के लिए विनती लेंगे, और उसके बाद हमारे साथ जो है प्रकाश जी हैं, कंडाक्टर जी हैं, और मुरलीधर तो ये चार है 10-10 मिनट का पहले डिस्कशन जैसा होगा। मेन मुद्दा क्या लेसन लर्न डिस्कसिंग, और बाकी जिन्होंने प्रेजेंटेशन किया है उनके बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे मुद्दे हैं, तो हमें बहुत सीख मिली है, तो उस सीख को कैसे रिवर्सल करेंगे, दैट वाज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। तो वी वेट फॉर 15 मिनट। 10 मिनट में होता नहीं है, 10 मिनट में कहते हैं आधे जाने में हो जाता है, तो 15 मिनट में 15 मिनट कीजिएगा, 16 मत कीजिएगा।
कौन
pastoral families and medicinal plant collectors, which are also totally directly dependent on forest. Now, if you see how these forests are constituted in Himachal, in 1952, the government issued a blanket notification in which all wasteland and the already existing. Here it's in presentation mode. Yeah, slides.
नहीं यहाँ पे तो ऐसा ही है, वहां पे नहीं दिख रहा है।
Yeah.
एक मिनट इसको दोबारा देखिए।
कुछ तो प्रॉब्लम है नहीं यार, ठीक है। तो इशूड 1950 मुझे ठीक है। तो एक ब्लैंकेट नोटिफिकेशन निकाला जिसमें जितनी वेस्टलैंड और फॉरेस्ट लैंड थी उसको सेक्शन एफए के अंदर उसको फॉरेस्ट लैंड डिक्लेयर कर दिया, एंड दैट टू विदाउट सेटलमेंट। और उसके आगे सब्सिक्वेंट ईयर्स में भी देयर वाज नो, कोई भी सेटलमेंट प्रोसेस नहीं हुई। इवन विद रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट क्या हुआ कि जो राजाओं से जो फॉरेस्ट लैंड मिली उसको डायरेक्टली अंडर सेक्शन 20 ऑफ द आईएफए उसको रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट डिक्लेयर कर दिया। तो उसके कारण आज के दिन जब रेवेन्यू सेटलमेंट्स होते हैं तो उसमें हमें थाउजेंड्स में जो नाजायज कब्जे हैं वो दिख रहे हैं। और दूसरा ये है कि हिमाचल में अराउंड मिड 70s में नौतोड़ की एक पॉलिसी चली जिसमें कि जो लैंडलेस थे उनको करीब 10 बीघास ऑफ द फॉरेस्ट लैंड जो कॉमन लैंड है उसको तोड़ के उनको इंडिविजुअल प्रॉपर्टी के रूप में मिल रही थी। तो उसमें जो पावरफुल कम्युनिटीज थे जो थे उनको तो पहले मिल गई, लेकिन जो एससीज थे मोस्टली शेड्यूल कास्ट कम्युनिटी, वो जब तक वहां वो अप्लाई किया और जब तक उनको टाइटल मिलना था तो 1980 का एफसीए कंजर्वेशन एक्ट आ गया, तो वो भी उनके पास भी कोई टाइटल नहीं है। और जो तीसरा सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है कि जो कम्युनिटी फॉरेस्ट मैनेजमेंट है, एक तो कि वो वहां के सर्वाइवल के लिए सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है, क्योंकि अगर आपका पूरा जो रास्ता है, इवन आपके जो पानी के सोर्सेज हैं, सब फॉरेस्ट लैंड पे पहले एग्जिस्ट करते हैं। और वहां पर एग्रीकल्चर लैंड कम होने से क्या होता है कि जो टोटल फॉरेस्ट की डिपेंडेंस है वो फॉरेस्ट पे है। तो आज के दिन क्या हुआ है कि जिस प्रकार से पूरे हिमाचल में ये जो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट की पॉलिसीज के कारण जो फॉरेस्ट का कंपोजिशन चेंज हुआ है, तो हिमाचल में ऐसा है कि आज के दिन 30% जो लैंड मास है उसमें जो फॉरेस्ट एरिया है उसमें चीड़ पाइन का प्लांटेशन हुआ है। तो जो चीड़ पाइन के प्लांटेशन से एक तो फॉरेस्ट खत्म हुआ है, उसके कारण अब जब ये जो क्लाइमेट चेंज का पूरा हमें जो सिनेरियो नजर आ रहा है जिसमें कि ड्राई स्पेल्स जो है बढ़ रहे हैं और फॉरेस्ट फायर इंसिडेंसेस बढ़ रहे हैं, तो इस साल काफी हिमाचल में फॉरेस्ट फायर के इंसिडेंट्स हुए जिसमें लोगों की जान भी गई है और साथ ही साथ उनकी प्रॉपर्टी को भी नुकसान हुआ है। तो कहीं ना कहीं ये देख के लगता है कि जब 30% इतने बड़े ज्योग्राफिकल एरिया में इस प्रकार के फॉरेस्ट हैं और अगर आपको ये फॉरेस्ट फायर से अगर बचना है तो कहीं ना कहीं इनका कंपोजिशन जो चेंज करना सबसे पहले जरूरी है, क्योंकि जो इनकी जो लीव्स है जो पाइन ट्रीज की वो हाईली कंबस्टिबल है। तो और ये जो पाइन फॉरेस्ट है ये विद इन विलेजेस भी है, विलेज के अंदर मींस मेरा घर है उसके 1 मीटर में ये पाइन फॉरेस्ट है। तो इस प्रकार से तो इसका कंपोजिशन चेंज करने के लिए तो कहीं ना कहीं कम्युनिटी का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल आगे आने वाला है। तो जो अगर हम इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को देखें हिमाचल के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, तो 2008-9 में केवल ट्राइबल एरियाज में किया था। हिमाचल में मेनली जो ट्राइबल एरियाज हैं कि नॉर्थ डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, लाहौल है, प्लस आपका भरमौर और पांगी चंबा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में आते हैं, और फिर 4-5 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कुछ जो गद्दीज और गुज्जर जो पेस्टोरल कम्युनिटीज के रूप में वो लोग रहते हैं। और फिर इसके ऊपर एक हाईकोर्ट में भी केस किया गया जिसके जब आए वर्डिक्ट उसके बाद स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने 2012 में पूरे स्टेट में कानून को इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के लिए ऑर्डर दिए। फिर जब 2008 में ये जब ये इम्प्लीमेंट हुआ तो उस समय केवल जो एफआरसी थे उनको पंचायत लेवल पे बना दिया, और उस टाइम किन्नौर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में पंचायत लेवल पे अराउंड 7000 आईएफआर और करीब 246 जो कम्युनिटी क्लेम्स जो थे वो हो गए थे, लेकिन उनको सबको रिटर्न बैक किया गया क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने ये माना सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी जाके कि हमने ये गलत कर दिया, हमने पंचायत लेवल पे बना दी। फिर इनको रेवेन्यू विलेज के लेवल पे कॉन्स्टिट्यूट किया, जो भी अकॉर्डिंग टू एक्ट वो भी गलत है, क्योंकि वो ये हैमलेट लेवल या कहीं और स्तर पे भी बन सकती हैं, जो अभी अलाउड नहीं है, जो अभी होता नहीं है उधर। और फिर क्या हुआ, लेकिन जो जो सेक्शन 3(2) है, जहाँ पे डेवलपमेंट वर्क्स के लिए मिलता है, तो उसमें जो जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट है उसने उसमें एक एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर इसके लिए जारी किया। और अभी जो पहली बार जो रिसोर्स मटेरियल है 2020 में पब्लिश हुआ है, और कुछ ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स होना शुरू हुए हैं। अगर हम देखें थोड़ा सा, तो जो अप्रूव क्लेम्स हैं उसको हम देखें अंडर सेक्शन 3(1), तो 189 केवल एफआर क्लेम्स में हुए हैं और 57 सीएफआर। जबकि उसी के दूसरे हैंड में हम देखें कि जो 3(2) के अंदर कि 2016 में करीब जो सरकार ने एक्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर निकाला, उसके बाद 404, तो मैक्सिमम इतने ज्यादा केसेस 3(2) के अंदर निकले हैं। तो इससे कहीं ना कहीं समझ में आता है कि द गवर्नमेंट की जो 3(1) जो राइट्स हैं उनको देने के लिए भी गवर्नमेंट विल, पॉलिटिकल विल अभी है नहीं। तो जो बेसिकली जो गवर्नमेंट की एक जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, जो सबसे पहले जब एफआरए आया, तो सबसे पहले ये गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से आया कि हमें ये एफआरए की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि यहाँ ऑलरेडी लोगों के जो राइट्स हैं वो रेवेन्यू और फॉरेस्ट सेटलमेंट में हो चुके हैं। तो लेकिन उसके बाद वो जो एटलीस्ट जो उसमें रिकॉर्ड्स में है वो केवल प्रिविलेजेस और कंसेशंस है, प्लस मोटा ने कई बार इसमें अपनी क्लैरिफिकेशंस भी दी हैं कि जो भी रिकॉर्ड्स आपके रिकॉर्ड ऑफ राइट्स में दर्ज हैं उनको आपको एफआरए के तहत भी रिकॉग्नाइज करना होगा। और फिर भी कई और इश्यूज पे, जैसे एलिजिबिलिटी को लेके क्लैरिफिकेशन स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने मांगे। और ये हिमाचल ही एक ऐसा स्टेट है जहाँ पे सर एक जो मोटा ने एक और पूरा एक जो क्लैरिफिकेशन है जो पूरे देश के लिए एक है, लेकिन हिमाचल के लिए भी एक अलग से क्लैरिफिकेशंस निकाले गए हैं अलग से। दूसरा जो कंटेंट है जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का था कि जो मेन है कि ये कि जो एक्ट विल जो ये है ये फॉरेस्ट क्लियरेंस प्रोसेस को डिले करेगा, जिससे हमारे डेवलपमेंट को प्रॉब्लम होगी। तो उसमें अगर हम देखें तो वहां पर एक क्या किया है कि एक मंडी और चंबा डिस्ट्रिक्ट जो है जहां पर पूरे गांव से जितने गांव हैं उन सबसे नील सर्टिफिकेट ले लिया है बेसिकली। उसमें क्या किया है कि फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट ने 3 एनेक्सस निकाले हैं, एक पंचायत सेक्रेटरी ने देना होता है, एक ग्राम सभा ने, और एक एफआरसी कमेटी ने। उसमें लिखा होता है कि हमारे कोई भी दावे नहीं है। ये करीब पूरे मंडी और ये चंबा और मंडी डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सभी गांवों से ले लिया गया है। प्रॉपर एक थोड़ी सी प्रोसेस भी की है कि पहला ग्राम सभा का प्रस्ताव किया, फिर दूसरा किया कि हमारे कोई दावे नहीं है, और इस प्रकार से इन्होंने कर दिया है। अब इस चीज को कि जो न्यू हाइड्रो पॉलिसी हुई है उसमें जो डिस्कशन हुआ है कि इसको हम जो मंडी का जो मॉडल है उसको इस मॉडल को हम अडॉप्ट करेंगे, और ये डॉक्यूमेंट में लिखा हुआ है पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट में कि अगर आपको एफआरए की क्लियरेंस लेनी है तो फॉलो मंडी मॉडल। अब जब स्टार्टिंग में किन्नौर में आया तो सबसे बड़ा सवाल था कि जो गवर्नमेंट का और जो पूरा ब्यूरोक्रेसी की तरफ से आया कि जो बड़े जमींदार हैं उन्होंने बहुत बड़े बड़े कब्जे वन भूमि पर किए हुए हैं। तो इस चीज के लिए हिंदरा ने एक स्टडी की जिसमें हमने करीब 1351 एफआर क्लेम्स की स्टडी की, तो जिसमें हमने पाया कि जो मोर देन 96% जो क्लेम्स थे वो 10 बीघा से कम थे। अगर आप देखें तो अराउंड 13 बीघा का 1 हेक्टेयर बनता है। तो इतने छोटे छोटे क्लेम्स उसमें थे। तो उसमें बेसिकली एक जो पूरा एक ब्यूरोक्रेटिक माइंडसेट दिखता है कि वो कहेंगे बड़े बड़े, जैसे हम लोग एसडीएलसी में गए, वहां एसडीएम साहब से बात कर रहे थे, वो कह रहे नहीं यार लोगों के तो बड़े बड़े क्लेम्स इतने आ रहे हैं, जबकि उन्हीं के पास कोई फाइल पड़ी हुई है। हमने कहा एटलीस्ट फाइल तो चेक करिए, उसमें देखिए तो सही लोग कितना मांग रहे हैं। तो ये है। फिर दूसरा था कि बड़े बड़े जमींदार हैं, तो उसमें हम लोगों ने 415 क्लेमेंट्स की स्टडी की, तो उसमें भी हमने यही पाया कि जो 36% जो उसमें से क्लेमेंट्स हैं जिनके पास 0 से 5 बीघा तक की जमीन है, और 31% के पास 5 to 10 बीघा। तो एक जो एक्ट में ये जो 4 हेक्टेयर अप टू 4 हेक्टेयर जो मेंशन किया है कि रिकॉग्नाइज हो सकता है, वो कहीं ना कहीं पूरे हिमाचल को जो ब्यूरोक्रेसी है जो स्टेट है उसको कहीं ना कहीं एक तरीके से इम्पैक्ट करते हैं, क्योंकि हिमाचल में जो लैंड होल्डिंग साइज है वो बहुत छोटा है, इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लेस देन हेक्टेयर ऑलमोस्ट। तो ये है। और तीसरी चीज इसमें यह था कि इससे जो मार्जिनलाइज कम्युनिटी है उसको इम्पैक्ट होगा। तो हमने वहां देखा कि जो वहां पर जो पाया कि एससी क्लेम्स का जो पॉपुलेशन परसेंटेज है, जो प्रोपोर्शन है, उसके हिसाब से उनके क्लेम्स ज्यादा 8% ज्यादा है। वो इसलिए भी है कि उनको बेसिकली जो नौतोड़ के क्लेम्स थे, जो उन्होंने नौतोड़ के लिए भूमि पे अपना कब्जा तो जमा लिया लेकिन उनको टाइटल नहीं मिला, तो उसके कारण उनका कुछ परसेंटेज ज्यादा है। अब फिर एक और कंटेंशन होता है कि अगर हमने एफआर इंप्लीमेंट किया तो हमारा पूरा रेवेन्यू और फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट इसमें बिजी हो जाएगा, कोई रेगुलर एक्टिविटीज हो नहीं पाएंगी। लेकिन एक चीज ये है कि जैसे ये मैंने ये लगाया, ये भरमौर में ये कम्युनिटी क्लेम जो मिला है, इसमें अगर आप देखेंगे तो ऑलरेडी जो राइट्स हैं वो वहां पर एक नक्शा हकबर्तन डॉक्यूमेंट होता है, उसमें रिकॉर्डेड है और जिसमें स्पेसिफिकली खसरा नंबर भी मेंशन है। आपको कुछ करना नहीं है, केवल वो रिकॉर्ड को आपने टाइटल के फॉर्म में उनको देना है। तो उसमें कोई बहुत बड़ा ज्यादा टाइम कंज्यूम नहीं होगा, जो होगा शायद थोड़ा बहुत आईएफआर क्लेम्स को लेके होना है। अब एक है कि ये ज्यादा फॉरेस्ट की तरफ से आता है कि अगर हमने ये जंगल दे दिया तो लोग तो इसको पूरा बर्बाद कर देंगे। तो इसी कारण से अभी क्या हुआ है कि जो छोटा बंगाल का एक एरिया है जो कांगड़ा डिस्ट्रिक्ट का है, जिसमें करीब 28 गांव आते हैं, उनको सीएफआर और सीआरआर टाइटल्स मिल चुके हैं। लेकिन वहां पर और वो बेसिकली ये धौलाधार वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी का एरिया है और लोग वहां पर या तो सेपर्ड्स हैं या मेडिसिन प्लांट कलेक्टर्स हैं अधिकतर। लेकिन वहां पर भी जो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट है, उन्होंने कई बार कहा कि हमारे साथ शेयर एटलीस्ट पूरी तरीके से हमारे मैनेजमेंट ने चले, लेकिन शेयर तो करिए फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट के साथ। लेकिन वहां पे एक तो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट काफी पावरफुल है और उसके कंपैरिजन में अगर हम ट्राइबल डिपार्टमेंट पूरा हिमाचल का देखें कि जिसमें शायद 30 से 35 से ज्यादा ऑफिशियल्स है ही नहीं, जबकि फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट शायद वन ऑफ द मोस्ट पावरफुल डिपार्टमेंट इन हिमाचल, तो उसके साथ बहुत मुश्किल होती है। और दूसरा, इसी क्लेम को थोड़ा कि देखने के लिए हमने क्या किया कि लाहौर में जाके महिला मंडल की एक स्टडी की, तो उसमें जो कि वहां के जंगल बचा रही है और कई बार ये फॉरेस्ट सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया रिपोर्ट्स में आया है कि काफी उधर फॉरेस्ट कई टाइम्स बढ़े हैं। तो वहां पर जब महिलाओं से बात की तो उन्होंने लगता है कि वो एक तो महिलाएं ऑलरेडी अपने वो एग्रीकल्चर की उनके पास रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, कोई भी सोशल इवेंट होता है, कल्चरल इवेंट्स होता है, उसमें वो बिजी होती हैं, उसके साथ साथ वो जंगल को बचा रही हैं। तो उनको लगता है कि यार हम तो केवल एक वर्कर के रूप में काम करते हैं, एक लेबरर के रूप में, कि जब प्लांटेशन आता है फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट हमें बुलाता है, दिहाड़ी देता है और डिसीजन मेकिंग में है नहीं। बड़े बड़े उधर जो अभी लाहौर में क्लाइमेट के नाम पर, कंजर्वेशन के नाम पर बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स आते हैं, तो उसमें कोई भी मॉनेटरी बेनिफिट, कोई भी डिसीजन मेकिंग में रोल महिलाओं का है नहीं। तो वो तो ये रोल से परेशान है, छोड़ना भी चाहती है कि तो तभी अगर एफआरए के तहत उनको कुछ मिलता है, ओनरशिप मिलती है, डिसीजन मेकिंग मिलती है, कुछ फाइनेंशियल इंसेंटिव्स आते हैं, तो देन मेरे को लगता है कि कुछ उसमें हो सकता है। अब जो एक वहां पे जो कम्युनिटी का भी जो रिस्पॉन्स है, जैसे कई दिखा के जो पूरा जो मूवमेंट हुआ वो हिमाचल में तो हुआ नहीं एफआरए को लेके भी, तो उतनी कोई जानकारी भी लोगों के बीच में है नहीं। तो एक तो कोई पहले कम्युनिटी अवेयरनेस के कोई प्रोग्राम ज्यादा हुए नहीं है, और दूसरी बात है कि जो वहां पर जो अदर ट्रेडिशनल फॉरेस्ट ड्वेलर्स हैं वो काफी इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, क्योंकि जो ट्राइबल्स हैं वो दे आर लेस देन 6% ऑफ द टोटल पॉपुलेशन, तो मेजॉरिटी ओटीएफडीज हैं। लेकिन ओटीएफडीज में ये बताया गया है कि जो एक्ट के की जो डेफिनेशन गलत बताया गया कि आपका जो फॉरेस्ट जो आप टाइटल भर रहे हैं एफआईआर के लिए, उसके लिए आपका ऑक्यूपेशन 3 जनरेशन का होना चाहिए, जबकि वो केवल रेजिडेंस को बता रहा है। और हिमाचल में तो ऐसा है कि जो वाजिबुल अर्ज है प्लस आपके जो नक्शा हकबर्तन है वो 3 जनरेशन पहले के हैं, जो ये शो करते कि ये कम्युनिटी इधर रहती थी, वो ये फॉरेस्ट का यूज करती थी 3 जनरेशन। तो वो चीजें एक ये जो पूरा ब्यूरोक्रेसी, फॉरेस्ट ब्यूरोक्रेसी प्लस रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट इस प्रकार का ये करता है, तो वो एक प्रॉब्लम है कि वो इससे जुड़ नहीं पाए। और तीसरी चीज होती है एविक्शन, जो है वो बहुत सिलेक्टिवली और टारगेटेड होती है। अब बेसिकली कि जैसे कि एमपी या एपी में मास एविक्शन होते हैं, वैसे वहां नहीं है। वहां पर जैसे एक रूल है कि अगर आप प्रधानी के लिए खड़े हैं तो आपका इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं होना चाहिए। तो अब क्या होगा कि कोई अगर एससी कम्युनिटी से खड़ा होता है और जीतता है और वो नहीं मानता है, तो उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए वो एक केस फाइल कर देंगे आप कोई भी कि भाई इसका तो है एविक्शन है, तो इसलिए वो पहले फाइल ही नहीं करेगा कि भाई मेरा एफआरए के अंदर भी है। और दूसरी चीज है कि जो स्टेट पॉलिसी है लैंड रेगुलराइजेशन को लेके वो बार बार बदल रही है। जैसे कि 2002 में स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने एक लैंड रेगुलराइजेशन पॉलिसी निकाली थी, जब ये पूरा खतरा आया था कि भाई फॉरेस्ट से एविक्ट करेंगे, तो उस समय ये कहा गया था कि जिसका जो भी फॉरेस्ट लैंड पे आपका ऑक्यूपेशन है, उसमें एक 50 रुपीज का फॉर्म इशू किया था जिसमें पटवारी उसका नक्शा बर्तन बनाएगा, हर चीज का डॉक्यूमेंट करेगा और फिर आप वो फॉर्म भरो, आपको लैंड मिल जाएगी। सब लोगों ने भर दिया और वो जाके सीधा हाईकोर्ट में जाके चैलेंज हो गया, क्योंकि वो जो फॉरेस्ट, वो अगेंस्ट द फॉरेस्ट कंजर्वेशन एक्ट था। अब फिर क्या हुआ कि जो कोर्ट ऑर्डर्स भी आते हैं एविक्शन को लेके,
आपको खास बात जो है ना, 2-4 पॉइंट वो बता के क्लोज करते हैं।
अच्छा ठीक है, एक जो कोर्ट ऑर्डर्स का बता देते रिलेटेड कि कोर्ट ऑर्डर्स में भी ऐसा है कि एविक्शंस के ऑर्डर आए 2017 में, उसमें भी लास्ट में जाके कोर्ट ने कहा कि स्टेट कैन मेक इट्स ओन रेगुलराइजेशन पॉलिसी, कि जिसमें 5 बीघा लैंड लोगों को दी जा सकती है। लेकिन उसमें ये भी कंडीशन लगा दी, आप एफसीए को आपको लेकिन एफसीए के प्रोविजंस को ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा। तो बेसिकली कि हिमाचल में बेसिकली अभी क्या हो रहा है, अभी की जो सिचुएशन है कि एक तो स्टेट लेवल मॉनिटरिंग कमेटी की एक साल में एक बैठक हो रही है, और जो पूरा इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जहां थोड़ा बहुत भी हो रहा है वो स्ट्रिक्ट ब्यूरोक्रेटिक कंट्रोल के अंदर हो रहा है। और क्या हो रहा है कि जैसे किन्नौर में अभी जो 60 क्लेम्स अभी थोड़े दिन पहले दिए गए हैं, वहां पर लोग एक इंडिविजुअल क्लेम के साथ 16 डॉक्यूमेंट्स उनको अटैच करना पड़ रहा है। हर काइंड का एफिडेविट, आपके पास कितनी लैंड है, आपके पास बाहर कितनी लैंड है, और लास्ट में जाके जो ग्राम सभा को ये भी एफिडेविट देना पड़ रहा है कि अब हमारे और कोई क्लेम, इंडिविजुअल क्लेम है नहीं, तब जाके वो एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं और उस पर कोई निर्णय ले रहे हैं। तो और लाहौल में वो जो है केवल जो रेजिडेंस वाले ले रहे हैं, खेती का अगर आ रहा है तो वो ले ही नहीं रहे हैं। और सिरमौर में तो कोई जैसे पटवारी और गार्ड बेसिकली फील्ड इंस्पेक्शन और इसके लिए भी नहीं आ रहे हैं। तो काफी अभी जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं वो जो फील्ड लेवल पे है हिमाचल के इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को लेके वो आ रही हैं। तो उसका बेसिकली अभी यही लगता है कि एक तो टोटली एक पॉलिटिकल विल है गवर्नमेंट की साइड पे, तो कहीं ना कहीं गवर्नमेंट का एक ऑर्डर अगर सपोज इन केस जैसे 3-2 के लिए निकाला उस प्रकार का चाहिए, प्लस मतलब हिमाचल में अभी ट्रेनिंग और अवेयरनेस की काफी जरूरत है। और कोई भी अभी बजट अगर एक भी फॉर्म मतलब एसडीएससी जो होती है केवल वो इस्तेमाल कर रही है एफआरए को, लोगों को कैसे डिस्करेज करना है कि वो दावे ना भरें, पहले टाइमली उसमें कोई निर्णय नहीं लेना, और जब भी रिपोर्टिंग करना उनको वापस कर देना कोई भी फ्रिवोलस कमेंट लगा के, और उनके पास न कोई दे आर नॉट प्रोवाइडिंग एनी फॉर्म, कोई भी अगर डॉक्यूमेंट मांगना हो तो वो देते नहीं है, थ्रू आरटीआई आपको लेना पड़ रहा है। तो इस प्रकार की ये प्रॉब्लम्स अभी एग्जिस्ट करती है। थैंक यू।
बहुत अच्छा और बहुत धन्यवाद आपको। हमें हिमाचल प्रदेश में बहुत सारी नई नई जानकारी भी जो हम लोग सोच भी नहीं पाते थे, तो बहुत धन्यवाद। अब हमारे सामने प्रकाश जी के बाद कल्याण रेड्डी जो तेलंगाना से, लेकिन वो वर्चुअली ज्वाइन करना था। I do not know whether he is there. Sri Kalyan Reddy, Joint Director, TRI Telangana. Kalyan Reddy, Joint Director, TRI Telangana.
Or you could invite me. Sir, or you could invite you to speak.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I'm start. Yeah, I'm there online. Yeah, I'm there. Starting.
All right. So, We are
Yeah.
now going to listen to.
Good afternoon to the dignitaries and participants of the workshop, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Sure.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. I'm Kalyan Reddy. I'm a joint director in TRI Telangana. Indeed, it's a great privilege for me to be speaking on behalf of Telangana about the implementation of the FRA in the state of Telangana. In continuation with the statewide presentations, I'll be giving a brief presentation about the IFR status in the state of Telangana and the efforts made. Yeah, and the efforts being made for the promotion of the community forest rights and the development rights. And the development rights were also in a big way in the in the state of Telangana. We are converging. Hello.
Dr. Kalyan, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir. I could hear you.
Make your slides full screen, please.
Am I audible, sir, right now?
You're audible. Make your slides full screen.
Yes, yes. Now is it full screen, sir?
No, not yet. We will share it from here, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll share it from here. You can just ask to change the
Yes.
slide.
Yes, yes, please. Yes, please.
Just
Yes,
a
please.
minute, he's doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let him close.
Let him close.
Kalyan, you stop sharing, please.
Yes, yes. Phone it down. Sir, can I start?
Just hold on, he's sharing. Once you see the screen, then you can start. He's sharing your PPT. That PPT has been sent.
అది నాకు ఇవ్వండి సార్ PPT ఇవ్వండి. నేను కనిపిస్తున్నా సార్. అవును. పంపించండి.
80%.
మాట్లాడతాను సార్. సార్ మాట్లాడండి. దేని గురించి సార్?
Can you see, Kalyan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I could.
All right. Full screen coverage. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, I'll be briefly presenting about the status of IFR in the state of Telangana and the efforts made to promote the community forest rights and the developmental rights also. Indeed, we have taken up developmental rights also in convergence with various departments in the state. And with regard to the IFR, yeah, we have yeah, there are around 5,475 forest interface villages. In all of these habitations, we have constituted FRCs, and about 38 SDLCs are constituted, and across the 24 districts in the state of Telangana. Out of 33 districts, we have 24. In 24 districts, we have DLCs constituted. We have altogether received around 2 lakh individual claims for an extent of around 6 lakh acres, of which we have, title deeds were issued to the 97,000 ST farmers. Actually, all of these are STs only. There are no OTFDs in this thing. And though many of these individual forest rights are granted in the erstwhile state, after the formation of Telangana, there were only pendencies that were cleared. In fact, around 90,000 claims were accepted by the time the state was reorganized, of which some 92,744 claims were found ineligible due to various reasons, like the claims are made after cutoff date. Around that. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, 37% of them were rejected for the reason that they were made after the cutoff date, and some 13% are rejected for the claims made without actual possession of land. Some 7.4% for the insufficient evidence, and 5% are made by OTFDs who could not show the evidence of 75 years of occupation. And the claims were also made in non-forest areas. Some duplicate claims were all put together. There are around 92,000 claims which were not found eligible. Next, please. Yeah, and for all these claims, and the state government has been implementing a flagship scheme called Raitu Bandhu. All the the ROFR title holders, individual forest right holders, they were also getting the assistance under this Raitu Bandhu investment support scheme. Around 5,000 per season per acre are being issued. Are being granted for this Raitu Bandhu investment support for the purchase of seeds, fertilizers, and etc. during the farm season. In this Yasangi and Vanakalam, it is called as Kharif and Rabi seasons. For each year, each farmer is getting around 10,000 from the state to promote farming in the state, and to assist the farm expenditure in the farming season. Next, please. Yeah. But there were some issues with regard to the implementation of individual rights. Some of these were fresh encroachments after the cutoff date, encroachments adjoining the title land as they were being provided Raitu Bandhu assistance these days. So there was a huge demand for the this Raitu Bandhu assistance, and then hence they are encroaching their adjoining pieces of land. And there is also some problem of internal displacement. The border areas of the state are being the Gutip Koyas are being inhabiting the forest areas adjoining the border areas of the state, like in the case of Mulug, Khammam, Bhadrachalam, etc. And as you know, the Telangana government has prioritized its maximum effort for the creation of the irrigation facilities. So much of land came under cultivation after the new state, and with this creation of new irrigation facilities, there is a huge pressure on the cultivable land. For this also there were few encroachments, and there were forest revenue disputes, occupation over 10 acres. Like these were some of the issues with regard to the individual rights. Yeah, with regard to the community claims, they were all put together 721 community forest rights, of which 102 claims were accepted under community forest rights and remaining 600 odd under community forest resource rights. Basically, both, under community forest rights, much priority is given to the MFP and fishing rights. Actually, next please. Next, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have made a memorandum of understanding with Forest College and Research Institute in Hyderabad, here at Hyderabad, under VDVK scheme of TriFed. The previous slide, please. The VDVK scheme of TriFed, we have actually identified the MFP collection societies through our Girijan Corporation, and we have been training them with the scientific the MFP gathering mechanisms, and safety equipment is also provided to them. The picture in which you are seeing is the Chenchus who were experts in the honey collection. Actually, they were being provided with support of the safety equipment kind of thing. All the MFP societies were given these community rights. And then next slide, please. The fishing rights were also been issued under community forest rights, and we have conversed with the forest department for the for training these ST fishermen cooperative societies. There are around 1,857 fishing tanks located in the scheduled areas, of which about a quarter of them are in the forest interface villages. They were being trained by registering them and being trained with the assistance of the fisheries department, and some assistance is sought from the Government of India schemes like Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, and yeah, this way forests, fishing and MFP were given much priority. And next slide, please. Yeah, under community forest resource side, 619 claims were accepted. Next slide, please. The efforts were also made, and this is the slide of recently we have issued a community forest right to the Medaram Samakka Saralamma Jatara's sacred site. This is the sacred groves of the Koya tribals. It is Chilakal Gutta. About 800 acres were granted on the Medaram Samakka site. It's a place with sanctity and sacred importance to the local tribals there. They celebrate Jatara there. This is the map relating to it. Next slide, please. And to promote the community forest rights in a big way, we have recently made an MOU with Bharat Rural Livelihoods Foundation. It is the main aim of the this partnership is.
Mr. Reddy, we'll be very happy if you can share the main of the issues.
Yes.
Issue we have wanted to know the main issue, and then we conclude.
Yes.
This is the process.
Yeah, this is the process. Next slide, please. Yeah, with regard to the issues with regard to the community rights, there is there are communities like BC communities like Besta and Mudiraj. They were actually claiming the lands in the scheduled areas, which were actually meant for the community rights of the local tribal population under CFR. And there are some restrictions in the MFP collection protection protected areas like tiger zones. Next, please.
Good.
And the state government has taken up developmental rights in these forest interface villages in a large scale. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. these are the four, important schemes under which the developmental rights were made. Raitu Vedikas, they were community halls for the farming societies. Vaikunta Dhamams, they were the burial places. Palle Prakriti Vanams, they were the village nurseries, and the drinking water pipelines under Mission Bhagirath. Next. This is the breakup of the community rights, which developmental rights, which we have taken up in the forest interface villages. Next, please.
Instead of data, if you have got anything particular to share.
This thing is very important, sir. Out of, we have taken up these 3-phase electrification in the forest interface villages in a huge scale, spending about 221 crores. About 929 tribal villages were provided these developmental rights under this under this scheme, sir. Next, please.
All right.
Yeah, this after the 3-phase electricity, the irrigation facilities were provided and under the land development scheme called Giri Vikasam, sir. Through this, around 18,000 acres of RFR land has got into productive use. Next, sir, please. And this is about in Gond and Kolam habitations especially. There is a place called Kormarata Jaga, in which we have developed some infrastructural facilities for the burial places of their deceased. Next, sir.
Yes. Okay.
And this is about the Raitu Vedikas. This is in convergence with MGNREGS funds, and about 2,000 Raitu Vedikas were constructed, sir. Next, please.
All right.
This is the pictures of those things. Next, please. And there were, though many things were done under developmental rights, there were some certain issues with regard to the restrictions of permission of housing colonies, which we wanted to take up under CCDP for the PVTGs. In fact, this is also related to the habitat rights, which we wanted to promote in the PVTG areas. And there were the time being taken for the forest permissions for the road connectivity and some kind of electricity facilities is taking so much of time, some years together sometimes. So this is one of the issues, sir. With this, I conclude my presentation, sir. A brief presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Reddy, although you were presenting from distant and initially the problem, but we could find it now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will discuss later.
Thank
now,
you.
We have with us Muralidhar, Deputy Director, ITDA. Now we understand, Muralidhar, that issues. Deputy Director, APO, ITD. Yeah. Yeah. This one, no? Oh.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Respected. Yes, sir. I myself Kondala.
OSD.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So Andhra Pradesh is implementing the Fast Track Act since from the inception very effectively, sir.
By the time he is getting prepared, Sri Sudarshan Naidu is there. Okay. And then Purnima Madam. Purnima Upadhyay. Purnima Upadhyay Madam is not there. It will be online. So now I am listening to Sri R. Kondala Rao.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, in Andhra Pradesh, since from the inception of the act, they effectively implemented, the total number of individual claims received are 2,75,206 for an extent of 5,68,232 acres. This is including the residual Andhra Pradesh area. Means in the before bifurcation, combinedly were given, so that was separated. Telangana part is excluded, only Andhra part is included, and after that, whatever the rights were given also included in this. The total number of individual claims approved as on 31st March, because recently in Andhra Pradesh there is a reorganization of the districts, so constitution of SDLCs and DLCs, little bit of confusion has raised, and then the process is little bit slow after 2nd April. That's why we have taken the figures up to 31st March. So the total number of individual claims approved are 2,16,392 for an extent of 4,43,893. So the number of community claims received are 3,294 for an extent of 6,23,678 acres. So the total number of community claims approved are 1,822 for an extent of 5,26,454 acres. The total number of individual community claims approved are, the total number of individual and community put together are approved are 2,18,214 for an extent of 9,70,347 acres. The final approved claims, including the rejections and those who rejected in Gram Sabha and SDLCs after appeals, those also considered and finally approved, also included in this. So the number of rejected claims are 55,217 for various reasons, like outside the areas also some claims are there, and evidences are not there, and encroachments after the cutoff date of 13 December 2005, etc., etc. The total number of pending claims as on today is only 4,594 for an extent of 19,586. These also will be processed very shortly after constitution of the SDLCs and DLCs due to that reorganization of the districts. So actually this land mapping and then geofencing was also taken up in Andhra Pradesh. So there was a portal called Giribhumi. In this, so all the data is uploaded and recorded, digitized. Everything is taken care of, and it is under the process. So government of Andhra Pradesh itself is clearly given a GO, GOMS number 94, dated 13/11/2007, declaring all the records should be preserved and then digitized, etc. So there some data is given, which is not of important. This is only for technical data. So that Giribhumi portal, there are certain key issues and then master data, different parameters were taken, and all the data is uploaded, and that data. I think they are not able to do that. नहीं full screen होना चाहिए.
Anyway, you can say the main points here.
हाँ, okay sir. No.
Even otherwise, it becomes full screen.
No, slide show में करना. Slide show में जाएगा slide show चलेगा.
मैं ही कर रहा हूँ.
Let him say the
Okay,
main
sir.
point.
So the
Just
main
say the
issue,
main
sir,
point,
that
yeah.
there are masters data, including
Yeah.
all the districts, mandals, villages, and then your households, each data,
Okay.
particularly including the Aadhaar linked with all, the plot will be identified and located and can be seen online also. So that was the next process we can show you. So the features of Giribhumi portal are here with mentioned. So in this, e-passbook also can be generated. So that anybody want, they can go and then in the Mandal center, they can feed the details and get the e-passbook also, sir. So the core data contains so many parameters of the same way, which was the previous slide, Postmaster. This is only technical data, sir, for viewing the details. There are 36 parameters through which finally we can view the crop pattern, how the crop pattern is at present on the ROFR land by sitting in the office. Sir, this is geofencing, so that all the plots of the farmers also geofenced and geo coordinates will be taken. So we can go with the mobile app is developed. We can go to the field and then they capture the photo of the farmer and the laterals of that particular corners, and then they can feed it into that data, and that will be taken care of, showing all the details, sir. So this data also can be shared to the other departments for implementing the. This is the view. We can see the grid patterns. In that village, how many are there, and for particular farmer, how many plots are there? Those plots can be visible and can be seen here. So this is for the mainly for the purpose of posterity. This data is sure as the rights can be heritable, not transferable. For the next posterity, this data also very useful, sir. And the status of lands also can be seen, and the pattern of the crop also can be seen. So this is like boundary, all the boundaries also fixed with some pillars mentioning the plot number. With this number, we can see the geo-referenced coordinates. So this is the status report of the stone plantation. So our idea is to give all the plots digitized and geo-coordinated, geo-fenced, and in the field also with some pillar. So the Right to Bharosa scheme is one of the important scheme implemented in government of Andhra Pradesh for the farmers. So that scheme is also extended to the ROFR beneficiaries also, sir. Actually, Government of India scheme is there for 6,000 rupees per year. So adding 7,500 extra from the state government, put together total 13,500 rupees per year is extended to all these beneficiaries for input and development of their lands, and then cost of seed, etc. Whatever they want to, they can do that. So that is given per year per farmer, means per beneficiary of the ROF are also given 13,500 rupees. So after the completion of land survey, claims process, DLC approval, the beneficiary wise land details are uploaded in Giribhumi, sir. One important point I forgot to tell you, sir. Actually, so the DLC proceedings also uploaded in this data, so that who has given, when given, what given, everything can be viewed in the online.
Can you please share what are the main
Yeah.
issues you have learned?
Okay,
and
okay.
interesting for
So
us?
service, this is the online generated passbook, sir.
Uh,
So actually, the land development also was taken care by using the MGNR as a scheme by extending 150 days per household in that land areas for land development, and then developing the horticulture, tree species, forest tree species, etc. Those also supported by this scheme and implemented in the state of Andhra Pradesh, sir. And for bankers also, this data was given for giving a loans to the ROFR farmers also, as other farmers are getting the crop loans. Like that benefit also extended, sir. So these are all some farmers' photos where some success is taken place and they developed the horticulture species. And they have taken up some SMC works, farm funds, etc. for development of the land using the MGNR scheme. So this is one success story of one farmer whose family is entirely dependent only on collection of the MFP and utilizing and selling in the previous days. So after the right is recognized, the land is developed, and by using certain scheme, so they are given a tractor also, but with some subsidy and some input from him also. So this tractor is being utilized in the entire area of that village for all the ROFR lands also. They are proud and they are utilizing, and then they are happily living. So these are some other horticulture plantations developed in the ROFR lands. So state level monitoring committee is also effectively working in the state of Andhra Pradesh with the involvement of the Honorable Chief Minister also, sir. So their field visits also there, and Honorable Chief Minister himself involved in the meetings, and then distribution of patas also, Honorable Chief Minister is involved, sir. Honorable Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister of Tribal Welfare. Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Next is Naidu. Dr. Sudarshan Naidu is a former from Tamil Nadu. Dr. Sudarshan Naidu is from Tamil Nadu. He is currently the co-guide of Sahel project. This is from the Sonbhadra district, approved by the Mota government of India.
Good evening, guests of honor. I will be presenting about an experience from Tamil Nadu. My association was referred here. This experience is pertaining to the Forest Right Act's implementation in Tamil Nadu state during the period up to 2020. About, just imagine, about 40 members of parliament from Tamil Nadu come up in the Parliament House, sign up the Forest Right Acts in the year 2006. Since then till date, not one of them are willing to support even one case of a CFR or IFR. And we have at least 55,000 claims which have been put up, out of which only 18,000 have been found to be eligible, and the rest of them have been, you know what happens, was rejected for one of those 15 reasons cited in the list. And we have 18,500 applications pending, and we are still knocking at the doors of all the decision makers, and it is still a big question mark. Point one. Point two. There has been several efforts like village forest councils being constituted, joint forest management being promoted, Tamil Nadu afforestation project being promoted through the Japanese international cooperation scheme and many other schemes. Now, VFCs, which were mainly with the participation of the tribal population, has been more a kind of a showcase. and it was all in isolation. It was all in smaller pockets, and but for the monitoring and the coordination and the goodwill of the donor organization, namely JICA, the local systems are still not able to support them. Believe me, when I say before this August committee, there was one gentleman, district forest officer, who promoted the VFC day and night. And the gift he got was, he was retained without any post for the next 2 years. And finally, the PCCF came to the rescue, and he was given a position somewhere in the South Zone Cultural Center. Now you can easily guess out who is it. Now, this is a program, this is a position completely outside the forest protocols. South Zone Cultural Center. Now, this is another example of what happens in a system which is not willing to empower the real tribes. It is the tribal places where everyone would like to go for a fresh breath of air, clean water, good food, and even relaxing during extremes of weather conditions, namely the hill stations. But today, the hosts of the hill stations are still, looking forward to others for 1 square meal a day. On one hand, the law wants the culture of the people to be showcased, and they are being brought there during the national celebrations, festivals, Republic Day, Independence Day, and things like that, asked to perform and show and get a big, huge applause, a few travel gift here and there, and that's the end of the tribal culture. And that is where forest right is not able to, give them a fair deal. Gentlemen and ladies, my only request is, if we all can strive to take at least one family of these tribes to get them forward through any one scheme, or at least through your personal goodwill, I am sure from this August gathering across the country, at least 10,000 families can be benefited directly. We don't need any support from anybody, just a simple support of some small, seed crops, or a small transport when you move from your place to that marketplace, or a small information that such and such scheme is being made available, and help them to get the scheme, the benefit of that scheme. If this could be done, I am sure 10,000 families can be benefited in one spell. Now, the other way out, I would like to say is, schemes like the produce, schemes like the non-timber produce, I'm telling you, in Tamil Nadu, these are all being done through non-tribes. If that can be weeded out, I think another 10,000 families can be benefited. Now, if 20,000 families can be cleared, I'm sure the below poverty line condition of these tribes can be wiped out, not 5 years plan, just 2-3 years plan. Because there will be a cascading effect. There will be an effect which is unique in the tribes, which says, this African Ubuntu means that I would like to see the other man grow, only then I can grow. So that concept is very much there still in our country. Now, if that can be promoted, only then, through the non-tribes, then only the tribes can come forward. Last point is that policies are there, programs are there, fund is there, good weather conditions are there. But what we need is a brand go-getters. My only request is, if we can show the model of a go-getter that we are all struggling across. In Tamil Nadu, we have done a few things. Tomorrow, my colleague, Mr. Alvas, will be narrating some of these online programs that we have initiated. In Sonbhadra, where we are now taking up through another agency called Surya Sansthan, under the MOTA program, we are coming up with a major online program, and the DM has also made out the master plan. And what I mean is, this economic empowerment does not need a law. It only needs a collective action, support, and energy. I hope you will all extend it in whatever level it is possible. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
To bring the forest in center stage.
The last speaker, I think.
Should I answer it? Baat mein.
Purnima Upadhyay. Purnima Upadhyay, Madam Upadhyay, or you are listening to me? Yes. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Good evening to everyone. Can someone help me by allowing me to share my presentation, or can someone share it from that side? I've already mailed it to the director's address.
1 minute, ma'am. Yeah. Let me introduce Madam Purnima Upadhyay. Purnima works for COACH, an organization engaged in the issue of livelihood conservation rights in Adivasi, Belghat, in Amravati division. She is an advocate by profession. Her work focuses on the issue of implementation and the legal issue particularly related to Narega, FRA, PESA, and other first law. She has also initiated and argued various petitions in the High Court pertaining to the rights of Adivasi. She has been a member of many organizations and also for drafting committee of the PESA rules in Maharashtra. So welcome Purnima ji. बहुत खुशी हो रही है, आपसे निवेदन है कि मेन मुद्दा जो है आपके पास तो बहुत कुछ है हम लोग के शेयर करने के लिए, सीखने के लिए, लेकिन मेन मुद्दे को आप प्रकाशित करें।
जी मैं जानती हूँ सर कि ये मेरा लास्ट प्रेजेंटेशन है और हम से बैठे हैं, so I will not take a lot of time. I barely have around 8 slides to share, and if someone can make me a co-host, probably I can share it from here itself. हाँ बना दिया है शायद, मैं कर लेती हूँ, 1 मिनट। दिख रहा है आपको?
We can hear you.
Can you see the slides?
No, not yet.
We can't see the slide.
Now I think it comes.
Now?
Yes, national consultation. Yeah.
Great. So I will, just to look at the figures, because I am not representing the government, I will not have the exact and accurate figures as of now. But someone, I think Manoj ji in the morning shared some of the figures. I have figures till January 2022, and wherein we can see that approximately in IFR around 1,30,000 hectares of land has been recognized under the IFR, and another 50,000 hectares has been recognized under the appeals which came up after the Supreme Court hearings. So I think roughly around 1,80,000 hectares of land has been recognized under the IFR. IFR was never actually a bigger question in Maharashtra, because in Maharashtra, as many of you would know, the whole process of rights of scheduled tribes over forest land has been a struggle even before the coming in of the Forest Rights Act. So we had the Supreme Court order in Pradeep Prabhu versus Union of India. We had very specific cases in areas like Melghat where we work, where we already had protections of the High Court. So there were already a lot of events that were happening around individual rights across Maharashtra. And I think that was something that actually was the low-hanging fruit, and that happened really quickly. Still, I think there are questions that all the areas not been recognized. There has been partial recognition, partial rejection. So these are questions that still are pending. Then there are issues whether you can build houses on land over which you have been granted IFR rights, and there are legal questions that are being discussed at various levels. So these are struggles, I think, that will continue to happen, because this is a historical act, as we all know, and this is trying to undo a lot of historical events that have happened in the past. If we look at community forest rights, I think Maharashtra has been one of the progressive states which actually has been claiming to do a lot of good work. And if you look at the figures, I think what they're saying is that 10,000 claims have been approved, but this is a mix of 3.1 and 3.2. So we have no way of segregating 3.1 and 3.2 as of now from the data that I have. So this is both, and this basically again goes up to around 1,50,000 hectares of land under CFR. My understanding and my wild guess is that we have approximately around 4,500 to 5,000 cases of community forest resource rights that have been recognized, and a large chunk of it, I was listening to Dr. NC Saxena in the morning, and a large chunk of this includes the right to management over the forest resources. So beyond CFR, quickly, if we look at what happened to the villages where CFR rights were granted, except for Gadchiroli, I think for the initial years, it was only one district of Gadchiroli where community forest rights was recognized. It was in 2012 that the rights started trickling down to other districts. Melghat in Amravati district was one of the first district outside Gadchiroli to receive CFR rights. Then there were other cases in Chandrapur, Gondia, Yavatmal, and then Thane, everyone followed. So I think 2012 was the time when actually a lot of districts in Maharashtra got their CFR rights recognized. So the immediate question before all of us was, what next? How do we take it forward to the management plans? And that's when we had a partnership with UNDP, where we started the process of preparation of management plans in 50 villages across 5 districts of Vidarbha region. And this was the first stage, which was actually very critical and very important, because this allowed the communities, the Gram Sabha, to actually exercise their rights. So they started the process of preparation of management plans, management and conservation plans, with assistance of organizations like ours, which were working in their areas for a longer period of time. And this actually set a precedence, because what happened was, while we were doing these management plans, there was a steering committee that was set up under the leadership of Principal Secretary, Tribal Development Department at the state level. And during this period, when we were doing the plans, it was decided that we will not just do plans, because there are we have planning processes under the government that are constantly being undertaken. What about doing some amount of action with the planning process? So we also started working on certain issues that could be immediately addressed, certain low-hanging fruit that would give results to the communities, that would build the capacities of the communities also. So management of minor forest produce, etc., was something that we did together with the planning process. By the time we had almost 1.5 years, by the time we completed the whole plan processes, this was approved by the Gram Sabhas and the state level committee, and incorporated into and an agreement to incorporate it into the working plans of the forest department. The tribal department decided that they would go ahead and support further planning processes. So if we look at Maharashtra, I think Maharashtra has, apart from the 50 UNDP plans, I think Maharashtra has gone ahead and supported more than 350 plans by the tribal development departments of the Gram Sabhas itself. And I think that process continues. So the state steering committee that was set up continued to steer the whole process and played a pivotal role in the whole process, because then there were the other GRs that were basically enabling GRs for convergence, for instance, because we had a provision in the rules for convergence of various governmental programs and governmental agencies to come together and provide handholding support to the IFR and CFR villages. But how do you actually do it? So the convergence GR that came into 2015 was one step further in this direction, that actually basically initially focused on 50 villages that were covered under the UNDP program. But then after a year or so, I think it was extended to the entire state. So the entire state had district convergence committees formed under the chairmanship of the district collector, with the forest department, initially with the forest department as member secretary. And that process actually helped us a lot, because we had very regular convergence committee meetings. The district convergence committee meetings were happening quite regularly, and that actually created a forum to resolve a lot of even pending issues of recognition, but also other issues of convergence of various programs under the district administration, and provide funds and resources to these villages. So as probably we all know, the process of management of bamboo post CFR was led by Mendha, and thereafter several villages in Gadchiroli and Chandrapur followed the management of bamboo. Tendu was a big thing that was left behind, and it was in 2013, after the rights were recognized, that 18 villages led by VNCS and Co as part of the Vidarbha Livelihood Forum we initiated the process of management of Tendu leaves by the Federation of Gram Sabha. So in each of the 3 districts, it was Gondia, Gadchiroli, Amravati that we initially began with. Across these 18 villages, there was a federation that was set up, initial federation, and that federation actually started the management of Tendu leaves. There was a whole lot of struggle, but I don't think we have time to get into those struggles as of now. But I would just like to say that those from 18 villages and 3 districts, today we are more than 150, 160 villages across 6 districts of Vidarbha, which work together as a federation of, these are district level federations, and they come together to form a regional federation. And they are doing the auctioning processes. All the ground level management are done by the village level Gram Sabhas at their own level. Only the tendering processes is the responsibility of the federation. The rest, everything goes down to the Gram Sabhas, and the Gram Sabhas manage their own processes at the village level. And this process continues from 2013 onwards. There has been some hiccups during the COVID period, but I think all of us collectively managed to overcome them and ensure that the villages were not deprived of their livelihoods during the critical period of COVID. If we take example of Melghat, from 2 villages, currently we have around 40 villages that are a part of the federation that manages Tendu in the region. And then we have village which manages bamboo, and then cluster of villages that manages custard apple. And Mahua is left to the villagers themselves, because I think they get a fairly good deal by themselves. So we have still not gone into the collectivization of Mahua as such. There are cluster of villages which are showing excellent learning examples, and all of you are welcome to come and visit these villages themselves. And even we are not required to explain to you; they themselves will be able to tell you how CFR has transformed their lives and livelihoods. The village of Paivir has set up an interpretation center that serves as a learning site, not just for CFR villages, but also for organizations doing soil moisture conservation works. A cluster of 5 villages is managing almost 1,200 hectares of CFR land, which was initially an open and barren land, and now this has been converted into a thriving wildlife habitat. So this is how actually this is the outcome of CFR, and this is the outcome of the processes of convergence. We have across several villages. I think Amravati was one of the first areas where we fought, and we actually got rights over water bodies and fishing rights over these water bodies under CFR. This was challenged in the High Court, and we fought hard in the High Court, and the rights were restored back to the Gram Sabhas. And today the Gram Sabhas are undertaking fishing rights in these water bodies. And this actually set an example for across various states and across the state of Maharashtra also, where fishing rights were recognized over the water bodies under FRA. Now, while we were working on the convergence processes, we also did not actually want to basically put all the burden of people's livelihoods on forests, because all of us would agree that we also want the forest to thrive and survive, and forest to be conserved, and wildlife also to be conserved, because people and scheduled tribes basically, and other forest dwellers also, have collectively lived together with the forest and wildlife. So if we are to ensure that all this survives and grows beyond all our efforts sustainably, then we also needed to diversify livelihoods. And this is where, we've actually converged with various departments, also with forest department, use their schemes to facilitate dairy development, some other schemes to facilitate commercial poultry, developmental of agricultural land through soil moisture conservation works. There have been biodiversity learning sites set up in CFR areas in different villages. We've got convergence to initiate solar-based irrigation, micro-irrigation works. This is done both on the forest areas where we have undertaken plantations, because we also want each sapling that is planted to survive. And given the temperatures in Vidarbha, if the saplings do not survive, then actually we are wasting our time and resources. So how do we do it? So we've used solar and drip irrigations to ensure that every plantation that is done basically survives. Then we have plantation and agroforestry works that are undertaken in convergence with Manrega, nurseries that are now being undertaken in villages, and nurseries of the saplings and varieties that the Gram Sabhas want to plant. not the exotic varieties that the forest department would basically like to plant. This is a drastic shift basically, because in the initial years, when the forest department brought their tractors of saplings which are of exotic varieties, all of these were sent back by the Gram Sabhas, and they said, no, we want bamboo, we want custard apple, we want amla, we want maua, and actually they had to replace these saplings. Things have not just stopped with the forest. Things have moved beyond forest into community development. Women in several villages are now taking over the fair price shops and also taking over their nutritional and food security situations in post CFR situations, because this has given them a lot of confidence. While all this is being done by the Gram Sabhas, let me also point it out very clearly that the transit permit in cases of bamboo, in cases of tendu, are clearly issued by the Gram Sabhas. We do not use forest department transit permits from the first year itself as a policy, as has been provided under the law. No TPs are taken from the forest department. All TPs are used by the Gram Sabhas themselves. They are prepared by Gram Sabhas, they are signed by the Gram Sabhas, and all TPs are issued by the Gram Sabhas, both under PESA and under FRA. In all these areas, wherever we are working as technical and facilitating agencies with the Gram Sabhas are the key decision-making agencies. None of the committees of the Gram Sabhas. So, and we've not disbanded the JFM also. Some of our friends may disagree, but we did not disband the JFM because initially there was a lot of hesitation of transferring government funds to CFRMCs because there was no government functionary in the CFRMC. Now slowly that is changing. But initially when we had barren lands and we had no funds, the JFMC actually acted as a donor, as a channel of sending government funds to the village level. The whole game changer was the fact that the decision was taken by the Gram Sabhas. No decision would be taken by the JFMCs, and all the forest records were kept in the Gram Sabhas. So right from checkbook to bank books to the passbooks of the joint forest managed committees are lying in the Gram Sabhas, which are using JFMC funds. So that was actually the game changer, that no individual committee will actually take decisions. All the decisions will be taken in the Gram Sabhas and would be implemented by the committees as per the decisions. As a principle, what we've also used was, we've used three kinds of conversions. One, we've used conversions of laws that provide entitlements to the communities, to the people. So we have convergence of laws like Manrega, PESA, Biological Diversity Act on one side, and then we have convergence of various government programs under various departments, be it irrigation, be it agriculture, be it forestry, be it the district planning committee, etc. And the third thing was convergence of all committees at village level which are working on natural resource management. So we have one team of people which basically the Gram Sabha decides and Gram Sabha agrees upon, that works on natural resource management needs of the village. That committee would work under JFM, that committee would work under CFRMC also, that committee would also be in charge of the Biological Diversity Act responsibilities under the village level, because these are smaller hamlets and we cannot have multiple committees operating in multiple directions. So the Gram Sabhas, we worked with the Gram Sabhas, and Gram Sabhas agreed upon formulating one committee at the village level. So we have a 3-level conversion that basically helps us in moving the agenda of the Gram Sabha forward. On 30th November, this is a landmark example that Maharashtra has set in, and I would think that many other state governments would like to follow this. On 30th November 2021, Maharashtra government has come out with a GR. This was a long demand. We've been working with the government for last 2 years as Without Livelihood Forum, where all the CFRMC Gram Sabhas which have CFRs recognized, have been recognized as an agency under Manrega. So they would be able to undertake works under MNREGA on CFR lands. This is something that has that I think is very critical, because we have seen that forest department is hesitant in supporting the Gram Sabhas in undertaking even plantation works or even undertaking soil moisture conservation works. So based on the experiences, we worked with Department of Manrega here in the state, and the state has come out with this GR together with the tribal department, and I think this is one of the GRs which will Of course, we have just started implementing this, so we will also have bottlenecks in implementation of this GR. But of course, this paves up. This is a big policy direction in terms of taking the CFR right forward. In Thane, we also now have examples where recognition of rights under 3(1)M has been granted. So in situ rehabilitation to project affectees. I think this is also being recognized in Maharashtra, and this is one of the first kinds of cases, at least in Maharashtra, where we have seen that in situ recognition has been accepted and recognized. I don't think it might be an in situ rehabilitation, but at least they will be rehabilitated against their resettlements. This is, I think, for a project under dams. Looking at the challenges, I don't think there are there are many more slides, so kindly bear with me for maybe a few more minutes. While we've been doing this, we are also facing a lot of challenges. Everything is not as positive as I may sound. We've also seen that there are recognition of CFRs, but I think in more than 97, 98% of cases, the customary traditional boundaries are not being recognized. So what happens at the DLC is basically the decision of what area is being recognized is vetoed by the forest department. We have seen this in several examples in most cases where we are working and where we are seeing that the decision of the Gram Sabha has not been respected. We filed appeals, we filed revision applications with the district collector saying that you have not appreciated the claims of the Gram Sabhas, you have not appreciated the evidence, you have not appreciated the map that of the customary boundary that the Gram Sabhas have provided. And in some cases, there has been some rectification, but still that those have not been to the level of recognition of the customary traditional boundaries. Then we have a whole struggle of CFR versus PESA. So till now, we only had the forest department, which was actually acting as a hindrance for implementation of community forest rights. But we also now PESA, because it comes under the rural development department, we also have one more department, which is the rural development department, which actually is hindering the enjoyment of rights under PESA. So sometimes it is CFR versus PESA, but from our experiences, it is best left to the Gram Sabhas, and Gram Sabhas have fought it really well. That has built their capacities, I think, which no training program, no capacity building program could have ever actually helped build such kind of capacity. So this has actually empowered a lot of Gram Sabhas. The struggle has empowered a lot of Gram Sabhas, at least in my area of Melghat. Non-recognition of CFR in sanctuaries for a long time, almost for 10 years. There were claims that were filed for sanctuary areas, and these claims were left unaddressed. Some villages also got relocated. However, after a lot of struggle, we've managed to ensure that the CFR claims in sanctuary areas have been recognized in Melghat, and I think that also paved the way for a lot of recognition in other areas, other states. In Chhattisgarh for sure, I know, because we've been working with some of our friends in Chhattisgarh, even with the ministry, with whom we shared some of the titles and the way we've moved forward, and this is gone beyond now recognition. However, again, the question of what is the quantum of recognition is a big question that lies there. In some cases, there are legal challenges which are pending, and we hope that there might be some solutions to this. Some areas were relocated even before filing of claims.
We can see the point.
Yes. So relocation of villages without recognition of rights. I think Shamona would talk about Section 4 tomorrow. But this has been another challenge that has happened with within Melghat, that in sanctuary there were villages inside. Actually, they are not inside the sanctuary because of. Now all of us also need to very clearly understand, because I don't think many organizations working in protected areas actually understand this, that in Melghat, when we were looking at all the notifications, we realized that none of the villages were included in the final notifications of national parks and sanctuaries, but these villages were relocated. Why? We have no idea. Now this has gone under a legal challenge in the High Court, and let us see what is the outcome of the legal process. Then we had the whole process of critical wildlife habitat that was initiated in Maharashtra. There was an intervention that was filed, and because of that intervention, the process now has to be as per as Section 4(2) of the FRA. However, in 10 areas where the forest department claims that There are no rights. They have gone ahead with recognition of the critical wildlife habitat. However, again, there are villages which have challenged whose rights are under jurisdiction of the High Courts, and this would soon be decided. Then Maharashtra, while coming up with one very good GR, has also come up with one very bad GR. And this GR is of 22nd November 2022, wherein they are trying to form a committee at a village level and trying to bring in government functionaries like the round forest officer, the talati, the gram sevak into a village level convergence committee. So what JFM could not do, the tribal department themselves, which is a nodal agency, unfortunately, is trying to do through a backdoor GR. We have all confronted this GR, and I'm not sure if anyone from Ministry of Tribal Affairs is listening to this right now, because this has also been challenged or questioned with the Ministry of Tribal Affairs centrally, and I hope that this GR would be withdrawn, or at least this provision that is regressive to the law will be withdrawn soon. What is also happening is we do not find that there is a redressal mechanisms. There is a lack of redressal mechanism when it comes to implementation of CFR rights. If there's a problem with the customary traditional boundaries, we are not seeing that there is a redressal mechanism. So I think this is something that is again missing and critical. Lack of funds to the Gram Sabhas for the handholding processes is not coming through very fruitfully, especially after COVID. The process that had actually been initiated by the state of Maharashtra under the Tribal Development Department, I think that all those processes have taken a beating post-COVID. I would also like to, because a lot of my organizational friends are here, I would also like to also point out this is also a challenge on the ground, that unfortunately there are organizations and who are trying to short circuit the processes of community empowerment, and this is going to be in the long run, this is also going to take a beating, because this cannot be done through without a process. You cannot do it through an app or through these kinds of processes. This has to be a process that is going to be supportive to the communities. So unfortunately, these processes on the ground are also beating the effort that are being undertaken on the ground. And I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to share some of our learnings with you. And I couldn't do much more because I was the last person.
But because of the possible time, we couldn't try to. But these are very, very important issues. This is in fact the process which is required for them. Thank you so much, Purnima. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm told Dilip Gode has to share 1 or 2 minutes, something. Dilip is there?
Sorry, was there a question to me?
Dilip Gode from here will share some point.
I am not sure if Dilip Bhai is here on this call.
Yeah.
But we are all working together. All of us are a part of Vidarbha Livelihood Network, and all the processes that we are doing is a collective process that we all handle collectively.
Anyway, so we all could share. Listen, now it's a prerogative of chairman, and I see this is 15 past 6 o'clock. We had to close at 5:30. So we have overcrossed. And if I sum up, keeping on, it becomes a very, very challenging. I cannot do it 5 minutes. Yeah. So, but it's also important to share some of the points which are very relevant and which have come from all. Let me pick up 2 important clues over here. Forest Rights Act is an act and law to have a provision of the forest right, a tenural security for the tribal. So this was required for certain purpose. The purpose was sustainable tribal development. So it had gone through number of processes. And my dear friends, you must have seen each state has got a unique character. This is a very, very important. And some of the issue, I think Dr. Ota and all will flag at the national level, that while there is a common act, how the same common act work differently, not because of the landscape, say hill, mountain, desert, or coastal, but because of the political ethos, culture of the community. Look at how people in Himachal Pradesh perceive about the FRA. I'm not going to detail. I just tell you how people have perceived, how people of Maharashtra, like Purnima has presented just now, how they have acted, responded. What is required for the Gram Sabha to be autonomous, independent decision maker? This we want. But this is possible only when there is a capacity. This is possible only when there is a culture. I'm not going to detail. So, act is a guideline, means the policy. The state political ethos, I repeat it, political ethos, how they take it, how they direct their communities, how they people their culture. This is common thing which has learned. And it has also some of the new issues have emerged, which again it has to reflect about the PPTG. What kind of strategies will be there? You were mentioning about pastoral nomads. There are Adivasis, but how do you recognize their land if the act requires a particular mechanism? What's that? And there are number of things which came, which is the end product. What this morning, Madam Executive Secretary was mentioning about the saturation. So some of the precedents coming for saturation, like in Maharashtra, in Odisha, we have seen. We have also learned the unique process of mechanism from the Gujarat and other places. So my dear friend, there are many things which is coming as a new learning. And number of things which are shared, I'm not telling about the particular speaker, it was too long, about how the PESA, the mechanism, the income generation, and the culture. If these all four work in a line, there's a Gram Sabha works. Ultimately, what was required? In Gram Sabha में फॉरेस्ट साइड से क्या आवश्यकता क्या है? क्या हम देखना चाहते हैं कि वो सक्षम होकर के दायित्व ले और भार ले और खुद निर्णय ले, ताकि वो वहां की जो चीजें हैं उसको वो फैसला कर सके। तो ये हम लोगों ने कई जगह पे देखा, खासतौर से महाराष्ट्र के देखा। ये हमारा ध्येय है, एक्ट हमारा माध्यम है, और ग्राम सभा का ऑटोनॉमी, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग, डिसीजन मेकर। देखिए, मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई है, मैंने रिसीव द हाइट कि ग्राम सभा को अधिकार है वो टेन्योर पास इशू कर रहा है, जो फॉल डिपार्टमेंट करता है। ये एक बहुत बड़ी चीज है। तो यहाँ हमें पहुंचना है और हम लोग सोचेंगे यहाँ कैसे वो पहुंचा। उसके बाद से बहुत सारे इनकम जनरेशन वाली एक्टिविटी, जैसे एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री आपने बताया, इकोसिस्टम रेस्टोरेशन, इकोसिस्टम सर्विसेज, बायोडाइवर्सिटी कंजर्वेशन, ये अगर नहीं हो रहा है तो फॉरेस्ट राइट एक्ट इनकम का मुद्दा बनेगा, कंजर्वेशन नहीं होगा तो सस्टेन नहीं करेगा। तो ये हमारी जो कल की बात की थी, आज सुबह चर्चा हुई थी। इसमें 2-3 बातें और खास जो सामने आई है, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण, कि कैसे हम लोग कोऑर्डिनेट करें कन्वर्जेंस के लिए। How we are going to make the convergence? Let me tell one thing which came from all the discussion. Convergence is not activity by different departments in one place. Convergence is not एग्रीकल्चर वाला एग्रीकल्चर काम करे, इरिगेशन वाला इरिगेशन काम करे, फॉरेस्ट वाला फॉरेस्ट काम करे गांव में। ये कन्वर्जेंस नहीं है, वो तो पहले भी होता था। तो फिर क्या कन्वर्जेंस? देन व्हाट इज कन्वर्जेंस? उस गांव की जितनी आवश्यकताएं हैं, कहाँ पानी, कहाँ तालाब है, उसकी आवश्यकता को लेकर के एक माइक्रो प्लान बने और जितने डिपार्टमेंट की जो फंडिंग है वो कन्वर्ज करके एक एजेंसी वो देखे कि कहाँ पे ये काम हुआ है, कहाँ कमी है, ये नहीं होगा तो हार्मनी नहीं होगी। तो कन्वर्जेंस का मैं छोटा सा उदाहरण, लेट मी साइट वन स्मॉल एग्जांपल ऑफ कन्वर्जेंस। देयर आर डिफरेंट म्यूजिशियन, तबला, हारमोनियम, बांसुरी, गिटार, सभी लोग अपना बजा रहे हैं, लेकिन किसी को मतलब नहीं कौन क्या बजा रहा है। सबने बजा दिया कि तबला बजा के चलेगी, हारमोनियम बजा रहे हो, बांसुरी बजाएगा, सब अपना अपना काम कर रहे भाई, सबको स्वाधीनता है काम करने की। दिस इज नॉट कन्वर्जेंस। तो देयर हैज टू बी वन म्यूजिक डायरेक्टर जो हारमोनी लाए, रिदम लाए। ये अगर हारमोनी रिदम नहीं ला रहा है तो अलग अलग सब अपना काम कर देंगे, कंजर्वेशन नहीं होगा, नेचर के साथ हारमोनी नहीं होगी और सस्टेनेबिलिटी नहीं होगी। तो संक्षेप में मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा, बहुत सारी पॉइंट है, कल रिकैप में हम लोग चर्चा कर लेंगे, लेकिन आज
रिपोर्ट करके हम लोग रखते हैं।
तो हाँ,
Thank you so much, sir. And so beautifully you have told about the convergence things. And I think that we will definitely, look forward to such type of convergence in future. जहाँ पे सही मायने में convergence हो और conservation और livelihoods दोनों एक साथ हम कैसे achieve कर पाए। तो इसी शब्दों के साथ I would like to convey my thanks to all the chairpersons who have so beautifully moderated the sessions. My thanks to all the panel members for their beautiful presentations and articulate presentations. And before we leave for the day or end the session of the day, I would like to also mention here that tomorrow is also an equally important day for us with very important thematic sessions like convergence hai sir, livelihoods hai sir, and then vulnerable communities, pastoral communities, PVTGs के मुद्दों पे भी हम बात करेंगे कल। तो और एक अहम चीज which I would like to mention here that tomorrow Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Tribal Affairs is also going to join us online, and he will be there tomorrow by around 10 o'clock. So I would request all the participants that tomorrow we assemble here by 10 a.m. so that we will be present here, and sir would like to hear the recap of the session, and we can then after start the technical session. Thank you all so much.
And friends, another announcement. I think those of you who are staying either in Pantanimas or in Red Guest House, we have booked till 9. So feel free, if you are leaving by 9 p.m. also, there is no issue. And if there is any other issue beyond that, let me know and we'll try to sort it out. Okay.
And we must have a big round of applause for the organizers.